That's most definitely what's up.
I'm vibing.
That's most definitely what's up.
Shout out to the chess club. We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10. But something's wrong with the game. But something's wrong with the game. 16 times the detail.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Praise be to Todd. Indeed, James. Praise be. Everyone praise him. Praise him. May Todd be with you and also with you. Amen. What should we do? What is it for, like, Bethesda? They have the gear logo. Maybe it's like, instead of the cross, it's like the gear turning. Something like that. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. Praise be to my mom. I made it to 25. Yes, happy birthday, Jess. Congrats. Another trip around the sun. Holla, holla. I accept Todd as my savior. Hopefully we all do. Otherwise, you'll spend eternity playing a buggy, broken build of Starfield, and I mean that's purgatory on steroids. Where's Jacob? Jacob, I don't know if he wants me to disclose. So Jacob is busy with a personal matter. Yeah. So he might come in to the stream later. I don't know. Anyway. I'm glad to have you all here, though. We got a couple things to talk about. It's going to be probably a shorter stream. If you're not from the US, today is Labor Day, which is a big holiday. It kind of ends the summer. So, you know, Memorial Day starts the summer, and then we have Labor Day that ends the summer. And it kind of is, is symbolic of the beginning of fall, hopefully at least, because it's been very, very toasty recently. So I'm hoping that it starts cooling down. But because of that, we are in sort of a weird time. So we had like a birthday party for one of my nephews this morning, and so we went off and did that. And we're still going to do the stream. We're still going to rock and roll, have a good time. We got stuff to talk about and some breaking news as of this morning. And beyond that, we are going to rock and roll. Luke, you go outside? Barely. I mean, look how... Actually, you know what? In this lighting, I do look a little bit darker, but then I show you my shoulder and you see the full farmer's tan. I mean, pretty clear cut, huh? Oh, man. Yeah. So do I go outside? Sort of. I've been going every week, every Sunday. I've been going golfing, and that's been a really good time. My brother Tim, he is shockingly good at golf. And it's always very humbling to see that. So yeah, I got a dumb farmer's tan too. Yeah, it's just gonna happen. I mean, the only way to balance it is to like go around shirtless, and I'm just not gonna do that. Just not gonna do that. Gotta love some golf. Yeah, dude, it just feels good. It just feels good, you know? The real question is, do you go to the gym? Yes, but not as much as I'd like to. I gotta get back on the horse, as it were. So yeah, I gotta get on that. Am I planning on doing a Black Myth Wukong mini review? Maybe. I mean, I might do like an overview live segment. As for like a main channel video, I think the tidal wave of attention on that game is starting to settle. So I'm not sure if it'll end up on the main channel, but I am playing through it. I kind of got into a tricky spot because Black Myth came out, and then right at like the same day, Star Wars Outlaws sent the code, the same day that we got Black Myth Wukong access. And so I played through that. And then, of course, working on some other reviews and stuff right now. So we're working on it. What's my handicap in golf? Yes. Yeah, I'm very bad. I'm very bad. But again, it's very nice having like a brother like Timmy, who I think now he wants to be called Tim, but growing up he was always Timmy. But having a brother who really knows golf and can help you is so nice. And I think I'm actually gonna go for it and like get the little like golf coach and stuff, and actually like work on it. Yeah, every time I see Timmy, I go, live it out, Timmo. Yeah, every time, without fail. But yeah, it's gonna be a good time, I think. I mean, I'm working at it. We're getting there. It's a good excuse to get outside, get some fresh air, hang out with your bros and friends, and it's just nice. It's just nice. Wukong is weird. I've had an easy time with the bosses that people say are really hard, and I've struggled with bosses that people say are easy. Dude, kind of the same thing. I'm not really sure what the deal is, but yeah, I'm in the same boat. Yeah. Is golf a sport or a game? I don't actually know the difference. I think sport is assumed to be much more physical. Like, would you call chess a sport? Probably not. It's a game. People treat it as a sport, but I don't think it would be like it would count as a sport. But golf is also like, golf is clearly physical, but I don't know if you've ever seen like, if you've never looked into like professional golf, I'm just going to break your brain real quick. So there's a guy who's like one of the best golfers ever. And he just, no part of him looks real. Like this guy, that's very poor quality. His name is John Daly, and he's a really successful player in the 90s, but he'll go and play at like the Masters barefoot. And like here He didn't have a tee, so he's like, oh, here, put a beer can down. So he puts a beer can down, and he's going to hit the golf ball off the beer can while smoking. Like, it's outrageous. It's outrageous. He's just like, I forget, I think it was Tiger said he's the most naturally gifted golfer he's ever seen. Like, he just gets it. Where's the part? Yeah, like he drinks like a fish.
Golf course? What year was this golf course built?
1926. Stephen Lee, I think, bought it 6 years ago.
Okay.
And Danny, our superintendent, is probably the greatest. So these greens will be faster than my divorces. You guys see my cooler?
These greens will be faster than my divorce.
It's called 4. It goes everywhere where I go.
Are you kidding me? Wait.
He has a custom golf cart with a cooler inside the hood. So he can just have dozens of beers ready to go. Like he is a baller.
4. It goes everywhere where I go.
Look at this.
Are you kidding me? Wait, serious? Oh my gosh.
Welcome to the good boy family of John Daly's. Best non-carbonated drink in the world.
Cheers.
Cheers.
This is a par 71, so 22 under.
What a bro. What a bro. So, like, usually people's complaint about golf is that it's like so prim and proper and everybody's so sophisticated and wealthy, you know. But John Daly just shows up barefoot drinking Bud Light, and he's like pretty damn drunk when he starts playing, and he'll just nail it every single time. And it's just not even fair, you know, because it's like everybody else is playing so carefully and trying so hard to do it right, and then he just comes up, waddles up, and is like, okay, whatever, boom, and just nails it. Yeah, he's got life figured out. Yeah. Silver Lightning, thank you for 5 months. Ooh, 5 months. What's your take on the Quidditch Champions releasing tomorrow? I tried the closed beta and was pleasantly surprised. No microtransactions. I don't know. Do you guys think that's worth checking out in a video? Because I'm hearing like basically nobody talk about it, but I think it's $30. For $30, I'm real iffy on it. I'm like, it might be fun for like an hour or two, but like I've also tried it and I'm just like, So maybe we try it on stream or something. Isn't it free on PS Plus? Is it? I mean, that's better. Quidditch Champions. Base game. Lots of skins and stuff. Standard edition, choose your platform, only Xbox or PC. So it's got to be, is it just included on PlayStation through PlayStation Plus? Is that just how it works? Seems weird they wouldn't have PlayStation listed. You know? A little weird. But I think it'll be, you know, like a fun little thing to try for a few hours. I don't expect it to be like the new, whatever that game is called, Rocket League. That's the damn name of it. I couldn't think of it for the life of me. So I don't think it's going to be anything like that on that level. I think it'll be fun if you're a Harry Potter fan. Like, you'll have fun with it. But doing this as a live service game was always a weird choice to me. But this is basically why it's not in Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy. And that's basically why. It's because they were doing this. So I think for the sequel, we could reasonably expect to see Quidditch included in it. But even then, maybe not. Because they're just going to try to push people into this. But they've been working on it forever. So it's probably going to be really polished, which I'm down for. But yeah. You can't get it 3 days early? Not worth it. Yeah, dude, for real. What is this? What is this? 2012? What are we doing? But anyway, I'm open to trying it, but I don't expect to be like putting everything else to the side to play it personally. You can just add it to your wish list. Yeah. I looked it up on the PlayStation app and it's okay, so it just hasn't launched yet. Okay. Yeah, Diet Cokes and cigars on the course. A true player there. Yeah, dude. It's that's the life. That's the life. Space Marine 2 and Astrobot this week. Might have to skip Quidditch. Yeah, I think a lot of people probably will. Space Marine 2 I think will excite a lot of people. Astrobot obviously is going to excite a lot of people, so we'll see about that. It's just that many people are complaining about the price. Well, it's just, I understand why. Like, I think they know people are not going to be playing Harry Potter Quidditch Champions for 5 to 10 years. Like, you might have a like 50 to 100 people popping in on the daily, but like rotating out. So you might have that type of turnout, but it's not going to be like 50,000 people are playing the game at any given time. I don't think anybody would expect that. So I think they're like, hey, we'll get $30, which $30 in the modern gaming landscape is fairly cheap, and they're just hoping to get some cash out of it. And who knows how much it cost them to make, but yeah. Concord levels of players can work if you didn't spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the game. If you spent 5 million and you're selling 25,000 copies, still not great, not where you want to be, but you can at least then maybe get a deal with Game Pass or with PlayStation Plus, and you might eventually recoup it. But it's why all of these things are dependent on how much money was spent to get there. You know, it's not as simple as just like Helldivers popped off. Helldivers did very, very well. If Helldivers were GTA 6, it would be considered a colossal flop. You know, so it's always just a matter of the broader context of what we're dealing with. The reason why Concord is such a big deal is because it's a first party studio that Sony bought and spent hundreds of millions of dollars on to get this game that barely anybody's playing. And that's why it's a big deal. If it were an indie game, it wouldn't be a big deal. Petty, what's up? Thank you for the 5. What is your opinion on Insomniac's massive leak that happened? Old news, but I'm late. And then, do you think superhero games are getting old? I think superhero stuff in general has been struggling in the last 5 to 7 years, and mainly it's just because the Marvel trend started to calm down, and a lot of the people that were really into that in the 2010s have grown up and are now adults, and so their tastes have kind of evolved as well. I think I think now more than ever there is a market for really dark, grounded superhero stuff. So like a Deadpool game with excessive gore, I think would be super successful. Or if they did a Batman game that was super dark, that I think could be very successful. But that's because the audience has grown up from where they were when they liked the Marvel game or Marvel movies in like 2013, 14, 15, 16. So I think we're just at a spot where the studios haven't evolved the franchises with everybody. And as a result, they just feel really out of place. You know, it's like they're trying way too hard to appeal to a young audience, and it just feels weird. Arkham games versus Spider-Man games. What's your pick? Arkham games, but they're some of my favorite of all time, so a little biased. But as for Insomniac's leaks that happened, I think that those leaks, you know, were really too bad because they showed a lot of stuff that was not ready to be shown. You know, it's one thing if there's a leak for an up-and-coming Assassin's Creed game where you get to see a new location and it's just interesting. That's okay, cool. Or like the GTA 6 leaks, where you see it and you're like actually more impressed that this is what the alpha looks like. It's like, whoa, this is very impressive that it looks that good being so early, you know? But that Insomniac stuff was just too bad because there was a lot of stuff leaked that just could potentially spoil multiple releases for people, which is too bad. I still think the games will be fine, but I think more than anything, what I found interesting about the leaks were the background, like business side discussions, like the slideshows showing their long-term goals, their budgets and stuff. That was most interesting to me, frankly. Grimblix, thank you for subbing with Prime over on Twitch. Yeah. The Wolverine Insomniac League gameplay looks good, but I'm hoping they change up some of the character design. The gore looks good. Yeah, and that stuff was so early. That's the big thing. It's so early. So you just can't really make much of it. But okay. As we roll into fall, what are your thoughts on Game of the Year? Beginning this year was packed, and I worry people forget about them. Pal World, Helldivers, etc. I mean, I think Helldivers being one of the biggest games of the year has to be talked about, even if long-term support has been rough. I just saw they're hiring a new community manager and probably dumping the old one or demoting them, which can't say I'm surprised. So I think you got to include that. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, of course, is in there. I think Black Myth Wukong might get a nod. It'll get a nod for action adventure, but it might get Game of the Year nods. Beyond that, Pal World, I'm not sure if it would get a nod at all or nomination. Kingdom Come 2 is delayed. So I don't know. It's been kind of a weird year. I don't know. Is after the most recent delay is Stalker 2 in like within the cutoff? I think we tried looking it up on the podcast one day, but we couldn't find it. It's like pretty close because it's mid-November, I think, is where it got delayed to. So if it's in that range, it's too late. Same with Dragon Age. Dragon Age might get a nomination if it ends up being good. What's the other game that got the December date? What game is that? What was the December date that I'm just spacing? Did Stalker 2 get pushed to 25? Really? Oh, Indiana Jones. Yeah, Indiana Jones is after the cutoff for sure. So that one I don't think gets nominated just because it's too late. But it's been a weird year. What do I think about the lip sync stuff in Ubisoft games? Most of it is because of the Snowdrop engine. My understanding is that the engine they're using for AC Shadows, which is a totally separate tool set, is significantly better for this type of game. You know, the Snowdrop engine was developed for games like The Division, and that's where they specialize, but we'll see. Let's see, Russell. So XDefiant is suffering from X deficiency of players. Definitely getting abandoned. So what else is Ubisoft left with other than Assassin's Creed and Crew? Rainbow. I mean, Rainbow is gigantic. Rainbow is probably their biggest franchise right now. It prints money. So I think that's the other big one. As for AC, I mean, they're pouring a lot of stuff into AC. They've already talked about how this year they've got Shadows. They'll have the Assassin's Creed Infinity Hub, which still has not really been talked about. That's a big thing that's just sitting there. Like, allegedly, this is coming to a brand new platform that's live service, that has battle passes and stuff. Like, and it has not been brought up. So that's a big thing for us to think about and keep an eye out for. And beyond that, they have probably Ghost Recon stuff in the works. Next year, I think, I'd have to double check with Joe Raptor, but I think next year is the live service game that they're doing. It's like a multiplayer something or other. And I guarantee you, even though they've been very transparent about it, they're like, hey, we have teams specialized in each of these things. We have our like more linear narrative Assassin's Creed team. And then we have our old school Assassin's Creed team that did Mirage, and they're going to do another one. And then we have Montreal, and we have Quebec, and they're doing your standard like big budget Assassin's Creed open world games like Shadows. And then they're also doing another spin-off game that's a multiplayer game. But I guarantee you, even though they've said all this stuff is happening at the same time, there's going to be people next year who are like, wow, Ubisoft was so PO'd about AC Shadows that they made a multiplayer game, not realizing, because they're stupid, that that was greenlit like 4 years ago. It's going to happen. I guarantee you. You're going to see people like, wow, Shadows, they were so worried about that they flipped. Now they're doing multiplayer games. It's like they decided this long ago. Like, come on. So it's gonna be a bit of a headache for sure. Space Marine 2 review embargo. I don't know if we are allowed to disclose that. I don't actually know. And if you have not seen it listed anywhere online, I'm guessing we're not allowed to disclose it. Because if we were, I'm assuming somebody else would have said so, you know. What do people mean by Ubisoft open world games? Usually it's like quantity over quality, usually is what's implied by it. It usually involves a lot of collectathons, a lot of checklists. You know, think back to like AC Syndicate, AC Unity, like the way they designed those. That kind of thing. Is Outlaw still a 7? Yeah, if you play it on hard. If you don't play it on hard, I think it can slip down to like a 6 because the AI is so stupid. But if you play everything on the hardest level, I think it's probably like a 7. And if they fix the AI, then maybe it goes all the way to an 8. But yeah. Joel, thank you for the super chat. It's the 3rd of September in Australia, and the new Harry Potter game is not available on the PlayStation at all. They might be doing a synchronized global launch. I think that's what they did with Black Myth Wukong as well, where it's like all synchronized around an exact time. So there's no like, you get to play it early if you're in New Zealand, which you guys, some people were asking, they were like, why, why did you play Suicide Squad on the Xbox? And I was like, the reason is because there was a thing you could do on the Xbox where you could set the time to the like New Zealand and get access to the other time zone unlock time and be able to play it. But you can't actually do that with a lot of these games that are doing global synchronized launches, which honestly makes more sense. I think, like, launch it globally at the same time, because people in New Zealand are going to play it and then leak story beats and gameplay and stuff online. Like the second, just unlock it for everybody at the same time. It sucks for some people because obviously they're going to have it unlock at like 3 in the morning, but I just think that that's the safer way to do it. Thogrim or Throgman, thank you for the 5. Waited 6 years to play Kingdom Come Deliverance and now got it for $4. I love it when gaming works out that way. Well, yeah, and now you're getting the version after all the patches and fixes and stuff. It's great. It's great. So anyway, thank you guys for all of that. And thank you to all the new followers over on Twitch. That's all fantastic. People used to launch Steam with New Zealand VPN. Does that even work? Because I know they can detect when you're using a VPN, so I don't know if that would work nowadays. Maybe it does. Maybe it's like one of the unspoken rules where they're like, we're okay with that, but like we're not going to say we're okay with it. I don't know why they would care, frankly, but whatever. Nunab says Quidditch is free on PlayStation Plus day 1. PlayStation might not want to put it on the store in case people pre-order it. Maybe it might just be that it's a different store listing thing when you're putting on PlayStation Plus versus in the store. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. What I do know, let's do this. News segment. So, elephant in the room for gamers and fans of digital entertainment alike. We allegedly have a big piece of new hardware coming within like 2 months, almost certainly. And that is the PlayStation 5 Pro. The PlayStation 5 Pro is supposedly going to be announced and revealed in like a week or two at that PlayStation. They're calling it a state of play, not a showcase, but they're going to be revealing it there, and it's going to be an improved version of the PS5, and the PS5 Pro is going to allow you to do like more 4K 60 at a stable whatever. It's going to have built-in upscaling whatever hardware, and it will allegedly make everything fantastic, beautiful, and stunning. But that got me thinking, because I had a PS5 or a PS4 Pro back in the day. I think I have it in the closet. And yeah. Hold on. Okay. It's in like one of the upper rafters. This is the one I got. Do any of you guys have this one? This is the God of War 2018 one. And look at this beefy chonker right here. It's got the axe design and everything. It's like the triple decker PB&J sandwich, and it's a great console. I love this thing. I love it. It's been sitting on the top shelf of my closet for a while, but I still love it even if I keep it tucked away in the closet. And that was a very lucky get, because when it launched, there were tons of issues with the PS4 Pro. Specifically, many ultra loud defective units where the coolers didn't work properly at all. And it caused a lot of drama, frankly. I had a buddy of mine I worked with at Best Buy. He went through 2 of those before he got one that was not defective. 2 of them. And we had people and customers come in, because again, I worked at Best Buy at the time, and they would come in and swap them out regularly because it was so common to have this issue. And it got me thinking back, when we were talking about the PS5 Pro, I was like, oh yeah, they had a really rough launch. Yeah, the jet engine was the whole meme about it. And it's funny because there is like a dedicated video that Crowleycat did on the launch of the PS4 Pro, which is just a total throwback, and I find thoroughly entertaining. So let's just take a trip down memory lane and see the PS4 Pro loud defective units, because this is something that I expect probably will be a problem this time around too, because it kind of frankly happens with all of these hardware launches. So just buckle up, buckaroo. Oh, the reveal. The awkward microphone.
PS4 Pro, November the 10th, 2016, priced at $399.
Look at that. Look at that. And so my God of War one was like 2 years after the official launch and still had all those defective cooling problems. So at launch, it was even worse. Also, it does make you feel old that that's 2016. Like 8 years ago is when the PS4 Pro launched. Jesus Christ. Dude, that's what it sounded like. And then it just gives up.
Jay Shockblast here, and I'm concerned. That sound you hear is my PlayStation 4 Pro. It sounds like a jet is about to take off.
Dude, this was extremely common for years. It was just a problem with the PS4 Pro. The cooler just wasn't very good, and it sounded like that when you ran it. So at launch, it was really bad. Later, my understanding is it got better, but I still remember with the God of War ones specifically, it was also a problem. It was a big issue. And, it's also the Spider-Man ones they did. There was also, oh wait, what was it called? PS4. Pro. What was it? It was like anniversary edition or 500 million edition or something. Yeah, this thing. Does anyone remember when they announced this? Oh, come on. Open for me.
Greetings! Today we're celebrating a major milestone in PlayStation history, the sale of the 500 millionth PlayStation system worldwide. That goes all the way back to the original PlayStation released in 1994. But we couldn't have done it without you. So today we've got a sneak peek at our newly announced 500 million limited edition PS4 Pro, which I have right here.
So, fun fact, I actually bought one of these because again, I think I was working at Best Buy at the time that this launched, and so I was able to get it because I just had access. I showed up like right as the store opened, and I would just buy it like anybody else. But it was really cool because it had clear plastic and everything. But I bought it, and then I realized I couldn't afford my rent. Little bit of an issue. So I had to sell it on like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever it was, like immediately. And it went to some guy that just was like, yeah, I just thought it looked cool and I couldn't find one on launch day. So here we go. But I accidentally became a scalper, I guess, at that point, because I bought it and then realized I couldn't afford it. Like an honorary, true, down-to-earth American. Truly. Truly. But it was cool. It was like, it had an actual number listed on it of which in the 50,000 unit run it was, which is super cool. And it was all clear, so you could see the internals and everything. It was super, super awesome. I hope they do something like this in the future. I love it. I love it. So, the PS4 Pro had plenty of issues. The base PS4 also had many issues itself. And, you know, there's also compilations. I think this is also Krabby Cat as well. One of his first ever videos of a launch PS4.
The unit is having a pulsing blue light.
I do get a blue light, and it's pulsating.
It's a clear indication that there's some internal failure that nothing really can be done.
It just wouldn't turn on. You just buy it and you couldn't turn it on. It was just bizarre. What I love about these videos is that you see these like candid looks at so many people's setups, and some people, you know, they just like set it on top of the media center or whatever. Others have it like stacked on top of other electronics and stuff. Yeah, it's always very funny because people didn't realize they were going to be in a viral video. But oh, that's not good.
Very disappointed.
That little pew, that's never a sound you want to hear. That's not good. Oh, God. Yeah. That's not great. Yeah, I think that disc drive's bad. What a camera angle, too. Look at that. But the point of all of this is that there's going to be lemons in any hardware run. For sure. Things like the PS4 Pro, those were just design issues where the coolers just weren't very good. The PS5 does get very hot, but it's very quiet. And I think that's a real testament to the way that they designed it. Same with the Xbox Series consoles. They're very, very hot when they run, but they are shockingly quiet. And I just hope that as they continue to crank the hardware, they're able to maintain quality standards like that. But I do just have one of those gut feelings that we're going to have some people that get the PS5 Pro and like have some of these issues, and it's going to be quite funny, I think, quite entertaining. But we just have to remember there's always a lemon in the basket of apples. Is that a saying? It sounds like it should be a saying, something like that. Just because you can find a couple instances of something really funny or hilariously stupid happening does not mean that that will be everybody's experience. And, you know, it's an easy thing that happens nowadays with everybody posting clips on YouTube or on Twitch or TikTok, whatever. It's really easy to get the feeling that everything is falling apart all the time. And I mean, we've seen this with the launch of iPhones or with the launch of different games where you see compilations of all these bugs, then you play the game and it just doesn't, like, nothing really happens. They're like, oh, well, what? I thought this was super broken. I'm not having any problems at all. So it does happen, but it doesn't mean it will happen for you. It just, there's always going to be some percentage of people that experience this. But if you think about it, and there's like, you know, for something like, I don't know, if 1 million units go out on day one, and then you have, say, 0.5% of people that experience problems, that's still like, whatever, 5,000 people, right? 5,000 people. And if all those people are making YouTube videos and TikToks and stuff that are going viral, it's going to feel like, wow, this is a flood. Think how many 5,000 TikToks on some common issue would be. Like, it would feel like it was everywhere. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's reflective of the overall quality of the product, you know, just because there's so many examples. If there's a huge pool that we're beginning with that you're taking the sample from, then it probably doesn't mean that much. Yeah, remember when the Switch launched and it was really bad? Yeah, the Switch, I remember seeing all those videos about the Switch. We looked at it a while back. Crowdcat also did a video on the launch of the Switch. Let me see. And it also had plenty of issues. And if you watch these compilations, you would think that it was like one of the most disastrous launches ever. But really, it was just a very select few people that were experiencing so many of these issues. And that's about it. I mean, it felt way worse than it actually was when you watch these videos. Yeah, this one, look, 28 million views. 28 million. If you watch this, you would think every Switch that was launching was falling apart. Weird sounds.
Okay, so it's very evident.
Oh, mine's stuck now.
Oh, mine's stuck too.
Yeah, the people that put the bumper thing on the opposite way because they didn't look at the L or the R. So they just ended up locking up their Joy-Cons and bumpers. You can still get it off just with like a little screwdriver and stuff. That I think was just an engineering. I don't even know if it's a mistake. It's just an oversight where I think they were like, you know, the engineers were so used to, no, you just slide it on top to bottom, boom, you're done. And they just never thought somebody would flip it and do it upside down and then get it locked. It was just very funny.
Oh, this is like cemented on now.
The awkward silence, I live for it.
Uh-oh.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Shit. Damn it.
I just like how the movements get more and more panicked. Oh no, oh no.
My Nintendo Switch experience today?
Yeah, that's definitely not supposed to happen. Who built the Switch? Boeing?
Can't even turn it off. Oh, thank God. You absolutely 100% need a screen protector on your Switch.
I will say that, okay, anybody, surely you guys have a Switch. Did you ever get scratches this bad? He says this happened like just using it casually. I used my Switch before I got glass screen protectors for him, and I put it in and out of the dock. I never had scratches like this. I might have like a little scuff or like a little schnoz on the screen or whatever. I never got scratches like that. Blue Bear says yes. I think you're the only one saying yes. I don't know, man. I don't know. That looks like he had it in a pocket with keys. Like, that is bad.
Have already scratched my screen, and it is scratched by the dock, because literally...
I hate to be that guy. I don't think this is... Hold on. Do I have a switch down here? No, I have a dock. I don't think that's even where the screen goes. I don't think that's even where it goes. This is the newer dock. But the little bumpers are on the sides. They're like right here. And this is getting scratched at the very top. So I don't know even how you would manage that. Because it's like a rubber inside. I really don't know. That's bizarre. That's bizarre. Was he playing with it on the beach and then sand got on the dock or something? I don't know how else you'd get that.
Actually, the screen has not touched any other surface.
The dock
hasn't touched any other surface. Okay.
is terrible. It's really low quality. I was really surprised by how just cheap and flimsy the dock is. It's essentially just a little plastic box, and the switch just kind of awkwardly crunches in down on it. It's hard plastic even on the inside. There's been reports already that people are scratching their screen. I've gotten like a weird smudge.
Yeah, see, I had this smudge. That's what I've seen. That's what I got. I wasn't getting scratches. He had scratches like up here. I don't know how he would get those, but the scuffs absolutely had this plenty. And I do think it was weird to leave a plastic cover on the Switch, but honestly, the tail of the Switch is just one of them like desperately trying to cut costs wherever they could, because it was already going to be so down to the penny in terms of profitability. So like, I think that's really why they decided to do that way. And just going to ask you to buy your own screen protector, which, you know, is perhaps fair, but still. But the point of this, again, is that if you watch this video back in March of 2017, I remember seeing this video. I think this was technically before I got my Switch, because I think I got mine like May, maybe. And I remember seeing this video and thinking, oh God, anybody who has a Switch, it's going to be a disaster. Look at what's happening to them. They're all breaking. But if you look at this list of like sources, this is like a good number, sure. But what is that? I don't even know how many. I'm not going to count it. But maybe like 40, 50, 60 sources here of individual people who have made these videos that have had these problems. If you double it and say half people report it, like still we're talking about hundreds of instances of millions of these things going out that reported problems. Some people will have problems and won't report them or make videos, sure. But it's really easy nowadays to have a video that makes it look like a console is falling apart or a piece of hardware is falling apart, when in reality, it's not that bad. It just feels bad when you look at all of the instances of people having problems. What sucks about this, of course, is that when there is a problem and somebody does have a defective unit, they have to RMA it, and then it takes like weeks or months to get a replacement in, which sucks because like you just want to play the game at launch. You pre-ordered it to get the new one at launch. Like that's the whole reason you got it. Even like, you know, if you worked at a place like Best Buy or you bought it from a place like Best Buy, you could take it in and try to return it, but chances are they don't have a unit to replace yours with. So they're like, yeah, we'll give you your money back, but we don't have a replacement unit for you. Sorry. You know, like what? So I think it'll be interesting to see how the launch of the PS5 Pro goes. I always eat up hardware launches. I just love it. I find it fascinating. People get so giddy and excited for it. I get excited for it. I don't know about you guys. This is like the most American thing about me, the pure consumerist cringe fest. Okay, for Luke, I'm just warning you. Do any of you guys get like so excited? Like just a shot of dopamine straight in the brain when you open up the box of the new gadget and that smell of like the plastic wrapping hits you? In the words of Joey Diaz, it's fantastic. It's like going to the dentist for free. Like, I get hit with so much dopamine right at the base of my cranium. Oh, God. I love it. It's a problem. It's a problem. Because, like, you start to chase it. You're like, I just get so happy when I get new gadgets and new goodies. I eat it up. I eat it up. And it's actually like, it's been a problem. Some of you guys who have watched the stream for a long time will know, like, I'll go through weird phases where I just want to change stuff. So I'll just start like swapping out hardware or swapping out monitors and adding new lights and cameras and camera angles. Why does Luke need a camera angle from over there? I don't know, but he's doing it anyways. Because like when I get creatively stagnated or frustrated, I just want to change stuff because that's how I'll feel like I'm at least doing something. And also like even when maybe I'm like feeling a little down on myself or maybe like a little, I don't want to use the word depressed because that's like a very specific thing, but just, you know, like a little bummed out, a little down. Maybe it's just been a tough week or something. One of the ways I can fix it is by getting a new gadget, you know? Sounds like a drug addiction, Luke? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a problem. It's a problem. Some people I know get that same fix from like Warhammer stuff. I've joked about it. Autism, maybe. I've joked about it where I have a buddy and I've joked with him about this. So it's not like I'm saying anything out of turn or like talking behind his back. I tease him about this all the time. But like he's like a crack addict for Warhammer. Like he will go and like he wants to pay with cash so that it's not like on their bank statements, so he doesn't like have to worry about explaining everything to the missus. And like he'll sneak off on his way home from work. He'll make a detour and stop at the Warhammer store, pick up a model or something, and then head back home. But he keeps it tucked under the lunchbox and stuff. It's like he's buying crack, but it's Warhammer miniatures. But it's because like you open up the box, you get the new thing you can use in the game, and you get to build it and paint it, and it's like this whole process addiction, you know. Same feeling with trading card games. Yeah, same thing. Like people that get really into Magic the Gathering, for example. Yeah, me with Harry Potter stuff. Yeah. The point is, this consumerist addiction that we're all feeling, isn't it wonderful? I just love it. Luke, it's so materialistic. Isn't that terrible? Yep. It's awful. It's awful, and I love it. I love it so much. I'll be honest. Crackhammer 40K. Yeah, dude, for real. What I didn't realize when I got into Warhammer 40K was that the number was actually an estimated price that you'll spend by the time you're all said and done. It's insane. It can be so expensive. But anyway, the PS5 Pro is launching within a couple months. Because I do this for a living, like this will not shock anybody, but I'm going to get one, and we'll unbox it on stream. We'll try it. We'll see what it's like. And I think it's going to be a good time. We'll see if it's worth it. I fully expect that it's not really going to be worth the trouble, frankly. I think it's going to be like, I guess it looks better, but I think that's going to be about the extent of it. They might have a couple of cool little bitty features. You know, there's been rumors of them adding some software where it can like summarize game stories and where you are in the chapter and stuff like that. But yeah. When did they make the announcement? They've been talking about it all in their investor calls. They haven't done like the formal reveal, I think is what you're referring to. But it's like a very open secret where like they're planning to launch in November, and they're going to be revealing it here in a couple weeks. They just like they're talking to investors, and they're like, yeah, we have this hardware, but we don't have anything else ready to go. So it's just going to be hardware. It's going to be weird because it's going to be, they're going to reveal it and be like, oh yeah, we have a couple of games supported, but they're not going to have like a launch game as far as we can tell, which is odd, but that's just how it is. Okay. I just was going to pull something up and I totally spaced it. What was I going to look up? Oh God, what was it going to be? I was just about to do it. Oh, balls. What was it? Oh, I know. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is another very stupid thing. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up. Joel, real quick, thank you for the super chat, but I only just got a PS5. That's so ridiculous. Yep. Sure is. But they are already having problems with keeping people excited about the PlayStation hardware. They're seeing sales start to drop off just a tad in terms of momentum. And that's very normal because once you set the expectation, you know what we have to do. MS Paint. Once you set the expectation, it's very hard to shake it. So like if this is the timeline, so this is the PS5. Well, actually, let's do this. This is PS4 Pro. Okay. This is the PS5. This is the PS5 Pro. And then this is the PS6. What's going to happen in terms of like enthusiasm? So not necessarily sales, but just enthusiasm. The PS4 Pro launches and we get a little shoot up of excitement. And what you're going to see is it's going to sort of trend down because as you get closer to the launch of the new hardware, nobody's going to be spending a ton of money on the PS4 Pro because they know that the PS5 is about to come out, right? So enthusiasm will start to really, really drop off. Then the PS5 Pro or PS5 comes out and it shoots up. And then it starts to trail off and then, ooh, a price cut. Oh, but now it's dropping off and there's not a lot of great games, okay? Sony doesn't want this here. They want it always up here as much as they can manage. So that's why they kind of have to do a PS5 Pro. Even if there isn't a need for it and they aren't going to make a lot of money on it, it's just because people expect it that you kind of have to do something to excite them again before it starts to trail off towards the launch of the PS6, because I guarantee you if the PS6 is looking like 2028, there's going to be basically no PS5s moving in the 6 months leading up to it, because everybody's going to know like that's going to be the console to get. I'll save my money and I'll get it there. So now that they've established the precedent of doing a PS4 Pro, they kind of have to do a PS5 Pro, and people are budgeting and behaving that way as a result of that expectation. Which is just, again, I can't really say I'm that surprised because it is rational if you're going to get hardware to just wait for the newest one, especially if you know something new is coming. So it checks out. Speaking of something that doesn't check out though, let's talk about this. New segment. I'm going to ask you guys in chat a question. And I want to hear your honest thoughts, your honest takes. What is the most ridiculous, outrageous game that has been revealed in the last, I'm going to say, let's say since the beginning of 2021? Since beginning of 2021, what is the most ridiculous game that's been announced and revealed? Not necessarily launched yet, or like whether it was canceled or whatever, but just what's the most ridiculous thing? Because to me, it's not even close. Okay, we had some games that were funny, like for example, there was The Day Before. That game was pretty ridiculous, where they were like, ooh, it's this whole, it's a zombie post-apocalyptic MMO, and it was just kind of fake, honestly. Foam Stars is a good one. It's just like, hey, we're going to do Splatoon, but worse. And with like $40 skins. And you're like, really? Okay, whatever. Scroll with a Gun is thoroughly ridiculous. I'll give you that one. Fair Games clears all of them. Yep, Fair Games is outrageous. If we get approval from the sponsor, I've got a video ready to go on Fair Games for the main channel because it's also outrageous. But there's lots of ones. Let me tell you what I'm thinking of, okay? I'm looking back through the chat to see if anybody has said the one I think. Redfall and Gollum, Forspoken, King Kong, Perfect Dark, Dust Ball, Dustbin, Dustborn. Kingmakers is outrageous. Yeah. Gollum. Dustborn. Lots of Dustborn. Okay, so Dustborn seems to be the common one. But the one I'm thinking of, okay, was revealed. We'll see if anybody in chat can get it as I start to drop in some info, okay? This was revealed in April of 2021. It was revealed at a PlayStation event. It was announced to be in a massively detailed open world. It was said to be a cinematic horror survival shooter. Anybody picking up on it? I haven't seen it yet. Somebody might have said it and I missed it, but I haven't seen anybody say it. High on Life, day before. Nope. Abandoned. Brian got it right. Congrats, Brian. You win chat. Brian wins for today. Yes, Abandoned. So, I think Brian was the first one to get it right. So congrats, Brian, for getting it. So, Abandoned. This is one of the most insane stories in like this generation of gaming, because in case you're not familiar, this went from just being a thing revealed that nobody knew anything about to building into a full-blown conspiracy theory where people were convinced that this was actually a secret psyop project from Hideo Kojima, and that this was potentially even the next Silent Hill game. What? Yeah. If you don't even know, Blueberry says, I don't even know what this game is. I'm sorry, I'm about to ruin that for you and expose you. So basically what happened, this is a tale that is one sustained headache long. And this is the trailer, okay? I'm going to show it to you, and I want you to tell me if this looks like something worthy of getting excited over, okay? Because I felt like I was taking crazy pills from the moment it was revealed.
Let me tell you a story. A true story.
To be clear, work in progress does not represent final quality. All images captured on PS5 at an early development stage. And again, this was relatively early in the PS5 journey. Alexa, when did the PlayStation 5 launch? November 12th, 2020. Thank you, Alexa. Thank you. So November of 2020 is when it dropped. This is 6 months later. We don't have a lot of games for the PS5, and this claims to be one of the up-and-coming ones, okay? So people saw this and somehow got excited.
Overcome to all of us. Imagine waking up at a place far, far away from home. Away from your loved ones. Away from friends. Away from safety. Trying to understand how you got there. No one there to guide you. No one there to assist you. No food. No water. You've got nothing to survive. But the complicated part is, well, you're a prey. A powerless, thirsty, and a weak prey of a strong, blood-loving community led by a religious nutjob. A false prophet that will do anything for power, anything for wealth. And when you realize this, you know it's the end. Your end. But you will never accept this. You will fight for a way out.
Yeah, it sounds like my daily affirmations for real. Abandoned. Q4 of 2021. Now you might be thinking, Luke, baby, darling, 2021 was a few years ago. Where is this stunning and brave game? Well, One could say it itself was abandoned. You see, what happened is after this trailer, people started to analyze it because they thought it was very weird. At a PlayStation event, they're going to show a game from an unknown blue box studio, which when people looked it up, they saw blue box studio was like nobody knew anything about it. Like it's just a shell. And this got some people thinking and wondering because it seemed to be, okay, it's like a cinematic survival horror or whatever. Okay, maybe it's like gonna surprise a lot of it. But like, look at this. So people looked at it and they started comparing it to a little thing called PT. And if you don't know what PT is, PT was the playable teaser is what it stood for. But it was a 2014 psychological horror, honestly, teaser for the upcoming Kojima game in collaboration with Guillermo del Toro. That was going to be, this was a precursor basically to the next entry in the Silent Hill series. And the way that they did this, and this is why people got really excited for it, is because it was developed by Kojima Productions under the pseudonym 7780S Studio or 7780s Studio and published by Konami. And so when people saw PT, it basically shadow dropped. As you can see, it was released on August 12th of 2014 on the PlayStation Network. Instead of formally announcing a new Silent Hill game, director Hideo Kojima decided to release PT as a demo from a non-existent game studio called 7780 Studio in September of 2014. Sony announced during its pre-Tokyo Game Show press conference that PT had been downloaded over 1 million times. Basically, he put this out and was like, I want it to speak for itself, and if people find it interesting, it should be because it is interesting and compelling, not because they know it's from me or part of a big franchise. One of the things I really respect about Kojima is he's like, okay, if you think that people are just doing this because they're sycophantic fans of me, okay, fair enough, but let me put something out and not tell anybody and see whether they connect with it. And gamers sure did connect with it. Even now, there's a fan remake that was made, which is phenomenally well done. I've even played it here on stream. Maybe we'll play it around Halloween because I still have it, even though he no longer distributes it. And basically, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you just are never going to get it. But that's the only way to play PT because it's not available on the PlayStation Store anymore. People will sell their PS4s with PT installed, and it sells for like $1,000, $2,000 just because people want to play PT. It's a piece of gaming history, right? So people saw this abandoned trailer, and they saw that it was coming from an unknown studio, the blue box studio logo that they popped on screen here. They said, wow, unknown studio. Upcoming horror game. It's from PlayStation. And like this was an official announcement at that showcase. So people's gears started turning. They started to go, I bet this is next one. And guess what people started to do? They started hyper-analyzing every frame of this quote-unquote trailer. Now, I think we even watched this live, like on the main channel before I was doing any sort of Luke Stevens live official thing. We would just occasionally co-stream events. And I think we were co-streaming this event. And we looked at this and I was like, I think it looks like crap. Like this fade to black thing is like the standard fade to black effect in, I think, iMovie. It's the same amount of time and same speed that it dips in and out. It's like everything about this is just odd because I don't think it looks good. The tree is clipping into the rock here. Like we're just supposed to not notice that. All of these leaves are just two-dimensional textures floating in the air. Also, this frame is so washed out and so low in contrast, I guess to make it look cinematic, that it looks like absolute dog crap. The game's running at like 15 frames a second and it doesn't even look particularly good. This one shot over the course of a single second gave me motion sickness. It just all looks like garbage. But there's this shot here which got people excited. Now I need you to pause and think about this for a second. Put yourself in the position of somebody totally insane. What does this tell you? You might say, oh, well, it's writing on a brick wall that says kill the trespasser. Okay. But if you're totally insane, you might see something here, okay? Okay. Let me screen cap this, and then we're going to put it in MS Paint. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what these savants saw, okay? They looked at this, and they saw a pattern. They recognized something. They recognized the potential of something. Okay, if we trace out these letters, you're going to be like, Luke, you're having an acid trip right now. That's basically what this was for people. If we trace it out, K, I, with a little circle, L, T, H, E, Tress, pass. I think there's an A in there. Where's the A? I can't even really tell. It might even be misspelled. I think that's the P, and then it just goes straight to S. I think it's misspelled. Anyway, that's not relevant for this part. So this is what the letters are on the wall. But there's a tree branch. Look at this. That cuts right through this. Now, what some people were saying is that this P is actually, oops. Oh, crap. Okay. What some people were saying, it might actually be like this. I think this, where's my brush? Oh God, I'm making it worse. I'm making it worse. It was like this trespasser. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Either way. So it was like this. It was like this. Okay. Okay. It took us a second, but we're here. And then they said, look at this. The tree branch goes through right here. It cuts them in half. Tree pisser. Yeah. It cuts through. What is it cutting through? It's cutting through the T and the P. What is that code for? TP, which is also code for PT. PT being the playable teaser that Kojima made. He's signing to us with this, that this is actually a spiritual successor to TP reversed PT. It's all connecting. It's all coming together. Okay? Now, you're right. A rational person would look at this and be like, hey, it looks like it's just a tree branch going over some generic writing on a brick wall from a crappy asset flip game that somehow got into the PlayStation Showcase because they didn't have enough stuff to show for the PS5. That seems more likely. But other people are like, no, the TP could stand for toilet paper, but it probably stands for PT and is meant to suggest to us that this is all part of it. Now, at the time, I was like, guys, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, this is insane. That anybody would buy this is outrageous. And also, it doesn't look good. We knew what Death Stranding looked like. It was running in the Decima engine. That's what Kojima was working with at his studio. We know what those games look like, and they look way better than this. This looks like an asset flipped game in Unity, is what it looks like. It does not look like something built in the Decima engine by a qualified, capable team. So a lot of people who are more skeptically minded laughed this off and didn't take it that seriously. But a lot of people also, on the flip side, started buying into it and getting super obsessed with it. Even stuff like this, where Yong is talking about it, and let's just let him explain. Let him explain. Just take this in, because even when Kojima was like, "It's not me, guys, stop," people were like, "He has to say that," but it's still true.
Abandoned. Blue Box being an indie studio who's allegedly working on this I don't know, horror game. The concept's changed so many times I don't know what it is anymore. But it's called Abandoned.
Turns out they didn't.
And there have been Kojima conspiracy theories surrounding it because of the way Blue Box marketed this so-called game. Back in June of 2021, PlayStation Lifestyle released this article that kind of details all the interesting coincidences, the way, you know, the developer hinted at first letter S, last letter L, which many understandably assumed Silent Hill.
To be clear with this, before he continues, there were many things that started to pop up. What I think happened is that the guy that was responsible for this game, a guy named Hassan, not that Hassan, he saw that people were starting to compare this to a Kojima game. And he saw that that hype was really useful. He could use it to get a bigger following, a bigger audience for his game potentially. So he started hamming it up. And he was posting stuff like this that Young just talked about. Guess the name. Abandoned equals first letter S, last letter L, reveal closing in PS5 exclusive. Heavily suggesting, starts with S, ends with L, Silent Hill. And so people are like, oh, Hassan has been paid by Kojima. There were people claiming Hassan didn't exist and it was actually Kojima the whole time. Things like that.
Among many.
So what I think happened is he saw that this was a great way to get some attention on the game that otherwise would have been totally ignored. And he started hamming it up and he started making some of this stuff up and suggesting maybe it is actually there. Or maybe it actually is Silent Hill. I guess you'll have to play it to find out. And then he got in way over his head. And pretty soon he didn't know what to do about it because it was just way too big. And they didn't actually have a video game. I think it was him and his brother had a history of just doing asset flip, like crappy games all the time. And this was going to be another one of those, but it blew up to the point where they couldn't keep up with it. And so they released like a standalone game that had a trailer built into it. It was just absolute garbage.
The other things, this whole article kind of presents the coincidences and similarities and things that seem to potentially indicate Kojima might be involved because of the way Kojima has approached marketing in the past. But
just look at all of that. Again, look at how big this article is for something that is totally nonsense. Like, this is why some people have fun with like Kojima fans, okay? Again, I think Kojima is an amazingly gifted, creative mind. My problem with Kojima is that I think he needs an editor, and I think sometimes he just word vomits way too much. I don't think he's good at dialogue. I think he's good at a lot of other stuff, but dialogue is not one of them. And my problem is when like Kojima stans refuse to acknowledge any potential shortcomings and act like he's Jesus Christ incarnate, as if he'd make good video games. But having said that, like, you can see the level of detail and depth people went to chasing the idea that this was actually some sort of secret game from Kojima when it's literally just a crappy asset flip. Nothing more at all. It blows my mind how much work people put into this. Hideo translates in Turkish, according to Google Translate, into Karaman, which is the last name of Hassan, the developer. What? Our sister site Game Revolution proposes that the idea that denying the affiliation with Kojima and Silent Hill is a clever misdirection, because if Blue Box Game Studios is a fake studio that doesn't actually exist, then they can't actually be affiliated with anything, so they aren't exactly lying. So people, again, we're just straight up like, okay, I know you said this, but we actually think it's the opposite. And when you're at that level of cope, where somebody could tell you, no, that is not true, and people go, that's exactly what he would say if it was true. It's like, at this point, they don't care about what's true. They care about what's fun. And this is way more fun than this just being a crappy asset flip. Certainly, which I mean, I think we can all agree on. But it doesn't mean that it's reasonable to do any of this. Yeah, his PSN account links to a YouTube channel called 2727. Silent Hills was confirmed as canceled publicly on April 27th. This is like the numerology stuff. If you've never heard of numerology or like Bible code, for example, it's the same kind of thing. Humans have a tendency to make patterns and to recognize patterns. But what people will also do is find codes where there just aren't connections and stuff. Like, people will look at letters and they'll count up how many letters that letter or how many numbers that letter is worth, and they compare them and they're like, oh, in this verse of the Bible, there's this many numbers associated with those words. And if we add them together and then divide them by 7, we get this number, which refers back to this paragraph where there was this number, and it all connect. And it's like, we're losing our minds. We're losing our minds. You know, at some point, you just have to calm down and be like, there is no thread to pull here. You're just looking desperately for connections. Yeah, it's teriology. Oh, what a throwback. Teriology. Oh, Terry. Anyway.
Approach marketing in the past. But we know at this point that these conspiracy theories are not true, that Blue Box is in no way, shape, or form related to Kojima. And Kojima himself has actually recently responded for the first time about these conspiracy theories and the fact that so many people have been essentially messaging him and sending him pictures of things to be like, hey, can you confirm that you're tied to this? This is an article from Video Games Chronicle whose headline reads, Hideo Kojima breaks silence on abandoned conspiracy theories. It's really quite a nuisance, he said. This was something that he relayed in an episode of his Brain Structure podcast featuring Jeff Keighley in this particular episode. And when asked about the whole Hassan Karaman situation, he said, users just kept sending me pictures of this Hassan. They still send me collages and deepfake images, like 20 a day. It's really quite a nuisance. And when speaking about the way he's done marketing in the past, like the Moby Dick Studios thing that essentially tried to hide the fact that this Phantom Pain project was in fact Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain. He said, when we did that Moby Dick thing, you, Jeff, were in on the whole thing. That was really fun, but people should know that I wouldn't do the same thing twice. To be fair, Kojima did do this more than once. He did it with Pete.
To be fair, he's a liar. No, but even with this, in the context of that podcast, which I remember checking out when he said that, because I was like, is he actually clearly stating? And he does, like, of course it's through translations and stuff, but it's very clear, like, no, I'm not involved with Abandoned. No, I have no idea who that person is. And people were taking it and being like, yeah, it's all part of it though. Like, he wouldn't say it was real if it was, because that would defeat the purpose. So people were still engaging with this all the time. Like, all the time. And eventually it launched. You know what happened? You know what happened? Let me see if there's an actual, like, clip of it. It was it was something called Abandon the Real-Time Experience. This person, Dest, pulled it up. I still have it in my PlayStation library, so I can still download it and try playing it myself. But what they said was this was going to be a real-time experience, so you could see what the graphics of the game were actually like in real time. Because just releasing a trailer would not do the game enough, like, it wouldn't do it justice. Because it was so graphically impressive, which is again funny in hindsight, because games like Red Dead and games like GTA 6 and Hellblade 2 and name any graphically stunning game, they're all able to release trailers just fine, but they had to launch this, a real-time experience. And you're about to see the entire thing, okay? This person's going to hit play. This is the entire thing. This is what people waited months for. This was all part of Kojima's bold plan. English. It says, this application does not contain any playable content. It is intended to demonstrate the upcoming trailers and gameplay demos in real time using the PS5's hardware through this app. All content is rendered 3D images and therefore not a high quality video. Okay, cool. Kind of weird that you have to say that, but okay. And then this is what it was, okay? Menu. Watch all trailers and gameplay demonstrations run in real time, blah, blah, blah. Trailers. Introduction. Cinematic reveal. Trailer. Release trailer. Gameplay demos. Wow. So much. Only one was ever released, though. Just this one. What is it? Experience. Abandoned. Take it in. That's the entire thing. That's the entire thing. People waited like weeks and weeks and months for this. It's literally a guy walking on an okay looking wood floor. And that's it. It looks like an included asset flipped model on an asset flipped wood floor. No part of this looks custom or special. And they actually did this. It's one of the most baffling things ever. Because again, you would think if it was just an asset flip, they would just like run and hide. But instead they doubled down on it. So here's my Luke Stevens official theory of what happened. What I think happened is that these guys that made asset flip games at some point back here decided, let's make a horror game asset flip thing. They worked on it a little, got a little trailer, and they sent an email, which was a long shot, to PlayStation and said, hey, can we show this off on your official channels as like a PS5 showcase? Somebody at PlayStation made the stupid mistake of saying, sure, because they had so little to show for the PS5 at launch. In terms of showcase games. So they said, okay. And they released that trailer. And when they released the trailer, the abandoned trailer, what it did is it gave the game credibility, which was the big problem. Like, this is why people took it seriously. If this went up on some random YouTube channel, nobody would have taken it seriously. But it went up on the official PlayStation channel, which is crazy. Like, it was just a huge mistake. So what I think happened is that they did that. They got approval and they were just as surprised as everybody else. Like, oh, God, okay. And they worked on a trailer. They put it out. And then they see it starts going viral. Okay? It starts going full, like, Charlie Sheen, you know? And before long, they realize, oh, there's a lot of potential here. So soon after, they decided to own the Hideo Kojima comparisons, okay? And when they decided to do that, they were like, okay, we're just going to start hamming it up. So they started tweeting out stuff like, Silent Hill stuff. And in terms of timeline, you know, this trailer launched in April of 21. Those tweets we saw of them being like, starts with H, ends in L, or starts with S, ends with L, what am I, equals abandoned, whatever. And I think that once people saw that, they started hyping themselves up even more and even more and even more. And it just got crazier and crazier and crazier. And pretty soon they just lost control of it because they started hamming it up more and more and more. And before long, Kojima's responding to it. Jeff Keighley's responding to it. Huge YouTubers are responding to it. Everybody's trying to figure out how the hell to react to all of this because it's just blowing up. YouTubers are making videos on it that don't normally cover that kind of thing. I think I put out a random video where I just said, hey, if this ends up being real, I'll eat my shoe. Like, there's no way this ends up being real because no part of this makes any sense. It looks like garbage. It's insane. And what's almost funny about it is that the fact that some people thought, well, it's not impossible. That should tell you a lot about what people think about Kojima's approach to this stuff. Like that they thought that this was like an actual possibility is what's utterly hilarious. But I think what happened is at some point, maybe here, Hassan, the guy behind the game, thought to himself, ooh, this many people are interested in the game. We're not affiliated with Silent Hill. But if we can put together a decent like horror game or just a really graphically impressive game, we could put that out and make a crap ton of money because we could charge people 30, 40, 50 bucks for it on the PlayStation Store. And yeah, some people will return it. Some people will be upset, whatever. But if we can put something together, we could actually make a lot of money because more people than ever are interested in what we're doing. So then they decided to try and work on that. But they weren't very good game developers. They made asset flip games. So they needed to buy time. And what they did is they went, and at this point, maybe here we say, this is like the pivot point, you know, this right here. And I think what they did is at this point, they decided, okay, we need to work on this little trailer thing. So we'll work on a trailer that will release in a real-time experience app. And they launched that here. And once they did that and people saw that little cut of gameplay, the people were done. People at that point were like, okay, no, this is stupid. Like, you guys are full of it. And then started just mocking them, trying to dox the guy, like tearing him apart. And at that point, he kind of effed off and the game was abandoned and hasn't gone anywhere. But I think what was going to happen is he was going to try and turn it into something. Because we saw him, like, after the pivot, starting to seemingly work on an actual game. And then at this point, he just was like, nope, this isn't going to work. And just cut and ran. Which I can't really blame him for. Yeah, they literally abandoned. Yeah, but it took them that long to figure it out. Well, yeah, it's the danger. I mean, the moral of this story is that, for one, you can't really get away with just straight up lying about what you're doing, even in the context of a group of like sycophantic fans that really desperately want it to be real, you know? It just doesn't work. Even if they really want to believe, eventually the truth will come out. It just will, you know, especially on the internet, in the gaming space where people will play your game and evaluate it and critique it. Like, it will eventually come out. So that's the number one thing. Number two is I think it really revealed how willing to put up with BS a lot of people were. And I think it reveals the dangers of hyper fandom, where you're at a point where your almighty leader can do no wrong. And even to the point where you start to disbelieve your own almighty leader because you want so desperately for this thing to be true. Kojima was saying, I'm not affiliated with this. And people were saying that he was lying because it was all part of the plan. And it ended up being total nonsense. Total, absolute nonsense. And there were people making videos describing how this was nonsense and like no part of this makes any sense, and yet people still wanted it to be true enough that they went along with it. Which, you know, we have the t-shirts available on lukestevensTV.com, which just say hype makes you stupid. And I think that is it's sort of a similar thing to what happened here. People got hyped up at the idea of a brand new PT-like experience, and they decided to shut off all critical thinking because they wanted it to be true so badly. And eventually, you know, it was revealed, no, this is actually just like a total scam and it's insanely stupid. And then people like, oh, and some people got really butthurt about it. Some people got straight up depressed about it, because they thought that they had been doing this amazing thing. People had spent days and days and days of their lives cataloging all of these coincidences and all these connections and translating stuff and looking in interviews with Kojima to see if there were any mentions that could potentially refer back to this and that. and it was all just a total waste of time. Maybe it was fun for a little while, but they wasted a lot of their life and brain power on it. And so I don't know if we'll ever get another abandoned type game again. Maybe, but the fact that we've had games like The Day Before and Abandoned shows that this is at least something that can happen in the industry. And all we need to do as consumers is to keep a level head. Even if something would be really cool, if true, we have to keep a level head and remember that if something really is not making any sense, if all the evidence is pointing in this direction, sometimes that's just where it is. You know, even if you really hope it's over there, if all the evidence is pointing over there, that's probably where it is. And I think that it's just important to remember that. Sometimes what you want to be true is just not true. And if the evidence does not support it, you should just accept it. End of segment. Okay. Let me catch up on these wonderful little notifications. Thank you guys for all of that. Let's see. Denobnobber, I think. Thank you for subbing with Prime over on Twitch. Loop, thank you for subbing with Prime as well. 5 months. Ooh, baby. Space Goon, thank you for that. Appreciate you for also following or subbing with Prime over on Twitch. Let me catch up on these real quick. Samuel, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Love the streams and so glad I can join one after several weeks of work training. One game I'm really pumped about is Subliminal, a horror game based on the back rooms. The visuals look really stellar too. Yeah, dude, I love those suspense, like really trippy horror games that are not like just focused entirely on jump scares. I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm just old. I'm kind of burnt out on the jump scare thing. I like games that are horror, but don't rely on constant jump scares. Like if they're a little bit more subtle and slow building, oh baby, I love it. Yeah, Banana Brains, Occam's razor applies here too. Yeah, absolutely. If you're just multiplying variables 1,000 times over to get to a conclusion you really want to be true, it's probably just not true. Let's see. Samuel, thank you. Oh, I just read that one. I can read. Let's see. Bender the Offender, thank you for the 10. Very generous. Since Kojima came up, who do you think is the Taylor Swift of the gaming industry? That's a good question. I don't know. In chat, everybody, who do you think is the Taylor Swift of the games industry? Because when I think of the Taylor Swift of the games industry, it has to be somebody with a rabid fan base who a lot of people don't think is particularly special. Everybody's saying Todd. It might actually be Todd. Because he has a random, like, where I would defend Todd is I do think Todd is a very gifted game designer. I think, you know, there's a reason he's been attached to so many wildly successful games. I just think he can't help himself. Like, he can't just shut up. Like, I think if Todd did not do the marketing for his own games, his legacy would be very, very different. Maybe not as good, but maybe better. I don't know. CEO of Steam. Oh, Gabe Newell. That's interesting. That is an interesting hot take. Is Gabe Newell the Taylor Swift? Because he is like universally beloved. I can't think of anybody I've ever heard that's like a Gabe hater. But he also like is not probably like super. It's like when people were hyper defending Steam. It's like, guys, Steam is not like your friend. Like they take 30% of every Steam sale. Like they make so much money and their customers defend them fervently, even if it means they pay more. So maybe that's interesting. That's interesting. Jeff. I think a lot of it is that people are scared to criticize Jeff. And I'm like, Jeff's a big boy. Jeff's an adult. Like you can tell Jeff, hey, I think the Game Awards would be better if there was a dedicated host that was like a voice actor that worked in the game space. If you had Nolan North host the Game Awards one year and the next year it's Troy Baker and the next year it's Ashley Johnson, I think that would be awesome. And I think that would lead to a better show. And I think I can tell him that. And maybe he'll blacklist me. I don't know. But I think you could tell Jeff that and he'd be like, okay, appreciate the feedback. And I don't know of a lot of people who are like Jeff Keighley stans. You know, I think people appreciate Jeff Keighley, but I don't know if there's a lot of fans. Neil Druckmann, I don't know. Neil Druckmann right now, after The Last of Us Part 2, Neil Druckmann might be more like... Who is somebody... Maybe like... Is Neil Druckmann like Kanye, where he's very successful? You can't really argue with his success. And that he knows what he's doing and what he's talking about with his field. But a lot of people just really, really don't like him. Like they really, really hate him. Maybe that's what it is. I'm trying to think of another musician that people are like, I don't know, Michael Jackson, where it's like, oh, people really appreciate the music, but they also think he was up to a wee bit of no good. Let's just say that. Bono, how can he do all these amazing things and still just seem like such a piece of crap? It's because he is crap. Don't you realize, Stan? That's a phenomenal episode of South Park. I haven't thought about that one in a minute. Oh man. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Have I covered the Rocksteady stuff? Not yet. I've got it pulled up. I've got it pulled up right here. So we will jump on it. But that's a very good question, Bender the Defender. We could talk about that forever. Odin, thank you for that super chat. Luke just wanted to say, or no, membership, 18 months. Oh God. Luke just wanted to say I was here when you were getting 100 to 200 people a stream and now you're consistently at 1K. Well deserved. We all appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. Very generous. And yeah, I don't really know what happened. We have like across both platforms, we got like 1,200 people watching right now, which is a little insane. And I don't really know what I've been doing to get to that point. Not really sure. But I thank you guys for being here. I had a YouTuber reach out to me recently and they were like, Luke, what's your trick for the live channel success? I was like, honestly, I don't know. It's like, no clue. I'm just here. I'm glad to help. Yeah, we just kind of do what we do, and hopefully people come out and have a good time. I think we have a good time. You kicking Suicide Squad when it was down is how I found you. I think a lot of people came over during Suicide Squad and Skull and Bones to a lesser extent, but yeah, Suicide Squad. I just think that game, it was one where a lot of people were feeling that way, and everybody was surprised that nobody was like just calling it out. And that's kind of where I came in. I was like, I'll call it out. Like, it's stupid. It's really stupid. And we're going to talk more about the effects of the stupidity here in a minute. You're interactive with chat. That's why I stick around. Oh yeah, Lord. It drives me crazy how some of the biggest streamers will just like pop on and they do not talk to chat. They will not look at chat unless they're throwing money at them. And I'm like, it's easier for me to, of course, catch up on super chats and memberships and stuff like that because it's in a list and I can see that stuff and I can react to it and go through it. And of course, it makes sense that they get like the priority, but I still try to read everybody's stuff. Like, you're here watching. That's the money's money. The most valuable asset you have as a human being is time. The fact that you're spending your time with me means more than any super chat somebody could throw at me. Like that's what's truly amazing. So I appreciate every single one of you more than you know. But thank you, Odin, for 18 months of support. That's fantastic. Appreciate you. The one and only Lord, 9 months. Ooh, baby, go get something nice on me, Dollface. Dude, thank you for 9 months. I still think about it randomly when I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school. Because yes, I did work at Chick-fil-A. And yes, it was my pleasure. I still remember one day working behind the counter taking orders. And this like classic Dallas, I don't know how else to describe her. She was very talented, probably artificially, but she came in there. The perfume was so strong you could smell her from a mile away. You know what? She was like a 6 foot tall version of Dog the Bounty Hunter's wife. Did you ever watch that? Beth, I think is what her name was. She passed away recently, but like a 6 foot tall version of that. Okay. And she came up and every sentence finished with a different pet name for me. And I will tell you, as like a high schooler who, bear in mind at this time, was not legal, I'm sure I was a treat. I'm sure I was. But it was really uncomfortable for this woman who's very, very confident. She just comes right up to the counter and is like, hey, baby darling, I would like to order a number 4 meal, large size with a diet lemonade. And sugar lips, I think I'm also going to do a number 5. And if I could do that also with the diet lemonade, that would be precious. And then treasure, I think I'm going to do. And she just like went through and every single sentence had a new little pet name. And honestly, made me feel good. Made me feel good. I remember also when she came in to pay, when like it came time for her to pay, she just rolled up like a wad, an actual like bundle wad of $100 bills, only hundreds. And I just remember being like, this is one of those random encounters that I'm just not going to forget. It's just always going to be with me. Yeah. Sugar lips. I remember specifically. Yeah. Yeah. There were a lot of really random things she threw out. It was like, huh. But I remember her. I remember her. Yeah. I'll always remember her. She was trying to be your sugar mama. I mean, there was a lot of sugar. I'll just say that. There's a lot of sugar. Drug dealer or stripper. I think she was actually just like somebody's trophy wife, or who knows, maybe she was like a really successful scientist or something. I don't know. I don't know what she does, but you never know. Yeah, Luke was contemplating. I mean, dude, she was like such a Texas behemoth of like a rancher woman. If she wanted to pick me up by the scruff of my neck and put me in her like cowhide purse, I probably wouldn't have resisted at the time. Tell you what. Anyway, moving on. I don't know why when you called me doll face, Lord, I saw that. I was like, that for some reason just took me back to that. That's so funny. That was the same job where my coworkers called me murder face, because apparently when I would just be standing there when it was not busy, my resting face just was scary. And so they jokingly be like, hey, murder face, you got to go wipe it up. It's like, what a clever nickname. I'll tell you what. Hey, murder face. It's like, guys, it's just my face. I don't know why. Yeah, resting murder face, I guess. Yeah, it's also known as retail face. That's good, Doc. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, she was Walter White. Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be surprised. It was like, I would love to know your story. Petty Wop. That's funny. Thank you for the 5. Sorry for the super chat spam. Topic shift. I'm sorry. Recently found you love your content. What is 3 to 5 favorite games that you've reviewed? 3 to 5 favorite games specifically that I've reviewed. I mean, the top 3 that immediately come to mind would be like Red Dead 2, The Witcher 3, and Baldur's Gate. Those are the immediate ones. After all of the patches, you might be able to throw Cyberpunk in the mix. You might be able to toss some of those. I didn't technically do like a launch review of The Witcher or of Red Dead, because those were kind of before I had a big enough channel to be noticed by anybody. But yeah, those are the ones I immediately think of. Like Witcher, Red Dead, Baldur's Gate. Can't really think of anything that tops those. You know, they're just, those are preem. Sleepy Creed, thank you for the super chat as well. Hey, you should make a video on Game Mill and find out how the hell they got licenses to big franchise and how their games turn out the way that they do. I don't know if I have the mental fortitude to put up with that, because Game Mill is just, I mean, they are a game mill. It's one of the most accurate names that I can think of, but it's just, it's kind of a remnant of of that era in gaming where every TV show, every movie had a spin-off game associated with it, so they would just pump out so much stuff so quickly. And none of it is particularly good, but the whole point was to give people something. So it's like if grandma goes to the store and knows that little Timmy loves SpongeBob, there is a game on the shelf for her to grab, you know? That's basically their market, is grandmas that don't really know what they're buying. Chris, thank you for that super chat. I'd be here more often if you didn't stream during the day when I'm working. Also, I want to make you a custom kit bashed 40K mini. What do you want? Oh God, that sounds amazing. My primary army is Thousand Suns, but I also play Necrons, orcs. I play orcs. I love my orcs. So orcs would be great. I play some, did I say Chaos Demons? I play Chaos Demons, and then I do have Eldari, but I haven't really messed with them much recently. Yeah. Whoa! You got to declare it. Sure do. But any of those, like, I would be eternally grateful. And if you want to reach out about sending something to my business address, just email my like media contact. If you go to my link tree, which is always linked, or on the about section of my channels, you can see the email. It's Luke at 28th Ave. You send an email there, and then we can hook you up with that. But that'd be amazing. Thank you, my friend. That'd be so cool. We could unbox it on stream. Edgar, also, thank you for the $10 super chat. The algorithm spammed your content for a while, and it pissed me off until I relented. Now I can't get enough. Edgar, I'm glad to hear it worked. And thank you for the $10, my friend. I've heard that the algorithm has been aggressive with like the Luke Stevens live clips, and it seems like that's just been taken off. There's a lot of people that have found me through the live channel that have not seen the main channel stuff at all. That's why I was talking to Jacob about it recently, and we were like, should we even call it the main channel anymore? Like, we're not there yet, but we're approaching the point where the live channel could be just as profitable as the main channel, which is crazy. It's crazy. Like, I don't even know how that happened, but I don't know. Only bad take you have was the Elden Ring review. I think, what did I say? I said, like, I think the thesis of it was like a beast grown out of control. Because I was looking at the game at launch when it was still really unbalanced. And I was like, pretty demonstrably, they're trying to wrestle with this thing. Like, it's so big and the bosses are so gigantic. They're so varied. They're trying to balance it in real time. And I just don't like a game that has such a high skill level, or skill floor, I guess, that is so breakable, but then they patch it and it's breakable in a totally different way. Like, it's one thing if they come up with a way you can build your character really skillfully that overcomes some difficult challenge or something, but it seemed like constantly they were just wrestling with it to try and get it working the way they wanted it to, you know. But I agree, maybe the take on Elden Ring was a little try hard. I don't know. I'm still proud of beating Radon pre-patch. Yeah. Dude, I tried making a coffee this morning. We didn't have our normal milk. Which, like, I'm like uber lactose intolerant. So like I have to do the lactose free or lactase free, whatever. And we didn't have any of that. So I used coconut milk that we had left over. And it's just not good. It's just not good. I don't know what it is. It's not good. I keep trying. I keep going back to it. And every time I take a sip, I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Am I Greek or something? Probably a little bit in me. I mean, most of my family's lineage, as far as we're aware, because my brother took one of those like 23andMe tests to get our DNA tested. And it was like, I forget exactly how it broke down, but it was something like, you know, 45% Irish, 45% Now what was it? Was like 40% Irish, 40% Scottish, 10% German, and then 10% Sioux Indian or something. I don't know. I didn't take the tests. I just heard him tell me about the one he took, so I should take one of those, but it's something like that. We're a lot of Scottish and Irish, and then a little bit of German, just a little, and then my dad's side of the family has a lot of Sioux Indian blood. Yeah, I'm American. It's just a mix of all sorts of stuff. All sorts of stuff. Blake, thank you for the 5. Has your opinion changed at all about Blood and Wine from your review on it all those years ago? Yeah, it's actually one of the reasons why the patrons are like they all voted for me to do a revisit of The Witcher 3. And so that's why I'm going back through all of it. I was just playing The Witcher 3 last night, actually, working on that video. So yeah, a lot of those, like I remember The Witcher 3 initial critique video, I put it out, and it was one I worked really hard on, and then, you know, put it out. It did very well. So I worked on the Hearts of Stone DLC, and very proud of that one, and I love that DLC. But then the Blood and Wine one, I think I was putting that out right around the time there was something going on in my personal life where I just needed to rush and get it done. And you could tell that it was super rushed. And so I've never been happy with it, and I want to go back to it. And I think like there's half of the DLC that I just didn't talk about for whatever reason. I can't even remember. So yeah, I wasn't happy with that video. So we're basically going to just redo it, and it gives me an excuse to play it. So hell yeah. Fatherhood? No, that was well before. It might've been college. Like I was headed off to college or something. Starting sophomore year, maybe. No, it would have been like, sophomore year, maybe. That sounds right. I'm not sure. Anyway, or maybe it was a move because like I was totally broke and we were trying to find ways to be more affordable, so we moved to a new place. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Yeah, hit by the reality truck. Yeah, for real. Yeah. You could save the Witcher 3 video for the 10-year anniversary and next year and double down on the production of it. Oh, that could be fun. It is, dude, you just broke my brain that's going to be 10 years old. Oh my God. The Witcher 3 is going to be 10 years. Oh God. Okay. I'm going to have a mental breakdown if we keep going. Oh God. It's starting. Oh no. Oh no. Here we go. Yeah. Oh, I can't even think about that. We could do that. I'd have to check with patrons to see if they want it. Because after that, I mean, I'm sure people are going to want to go deep into Baldur's Gate 3. But Baldur's Gate 3 is so freaking huge. I don't want to get caught in the trap of being like, okay, I'll start working on that video. Thank you for the patron money. And then work on it for 2 years because it's so massive. Like, I'd like to get more consistent stuff. We do put out exclusive Patreon videos over there. So that's always a good time. Did like an I Tried of Mafia Definitive Edition and things like that, studio tours and things. So we do stuff like that, but still. Anyway, let's do this. Because right as I said, let's do this one popped up. I'll just say this real quick. Let me finish catch up on these. Wolgruff, thank you for the 2. Most and least favorite boss in SOTE. SOTE. What is SOTE? Am I just blanking on it? SOTE. What is SOT? Most and least favorite boss in SO. Oh, Shadow of the Air Tree. Oh, okay. Most and least favorite boss. Least favorite boss. Do I have to just pull up a list of them to remember the names? Because I can like remember what they look like, but I don't always remember the names. I won't pull up all of them just so there's no spoilers. I mean, honestly, like, of course I'm gonna go probably with Mesmer, the one and only, as one of my favorites. in the DLC. Probably my favorite. As for least favorite, I really didn't like the avatar of the scatter tree. I thought that was like super annoying. But I think I was also just taking him on way too early. So I think that was part of it. I can't really think of any bosses. Oh, well, the divine beast dancing lion. The one that was like the reskin. This guy with like all of the death, whatever it is, poison effect thing, death blight. That's what it is. The death blight I absolutely hate with a throbbing passion. I cannot stand that thing. So I think this guy drove me the most crazy, even though he's like, as far as I know, totally optional. Drove me up the wall. I just hate death blight. I just think it's so stupid. I think death blight is not fun. It forces you to play super passively and defensively, just staying away from the death blight, and I didn't think it was that fun. So that's my least favorite, and then I'll say Mesmer is my favorite. I think that's what I'll say. And then let's see, Arian, thank you for that super chat. What are your thoughts on Kingmakers? Is it a starting point of new ideas in the games industry from this boring Concord Dustborn like games? Also, what do you think about the future of the Halo franchise? I think they're going to be releasing a new Halo probably right around the time of the launch of the next series of Xbox hardware. I think that just makes sense. And then beyond that, I think as for whether something like Kingmakers marks a starting point of new ideas, it's always hard to mark when the starting point happens because you won't see the effects of it till like 4 or 5 years later. I think it might not be a starting point of fresh ideas. It might just be that games like Concord are losing so much money that companies like PlayStation are just not going to bother greenlighting them. Which, is it because they had some revelation that, oh, we should make these high quality games instead? No, I think it's more that they just don't want to risk it. So they're just going to pivot. Unfortunately. I wish it were something more profound, but I really think that that's all it really comes down to. Okay. Let's shift forward to this real quick cuz I keep trying to pivot and then I get distracted because this is basically, if you haven't caught it yet, this is basically ADHD, the stream. Here we go. New segment, finally, for the love of God. It's happened, folks. It's happened. Rocksteady has been hit by layoffs after Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. And one of these individuals, as you can see with the subheader, was even made redundant, kind of code word for let go or fired, while on paternity leave, which don't feel good. Let's see what they say. Rocksteady staff have told Eurogamer of redundancies at the studio following the underperformance of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The company's QA department has seen its size almost cut in half over the last month. Woof. Eurogamer understands from 33 team members down to 15, with poor sales of Suicide Squad directly cited as a reason for its restructuring. The job losses extend outside of QA too. One staff member posting publicly on social media over the weekend revealed that they had been told they were being made redundant in the middle of their paternity leave. Ugh. I mean, I don't know how it works in the UK. Do we have anybody from the UK in chat? I'm sure we do. How does paternity leave work in the UK? Is it like a guaranteed 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months? I know it's different. I mean, in the US, it's different like per state. So I don't know how it works in the UK, but how long is it? It's a year? You have a guaranteed year you just take off? Orem says it's a year. 2 weeks for paternity? Depends on the company. Okay, so maybe it's not as clear cut. Oh, Jesus. This is so varied. Scared Crown says in the Czech Republic we have 3 years. Oh, geez, dude. Men usually get 2 weeks off. 2 weeks for paternity, 1 year for maternity. Oh, okay. Okay. So 2 weeks for the father, a year for the mother. Okay. Okay. So in that case, he left a week ago and is getting laid off here. I was going to say, if it's a year for the dude or for the father, being let go in the middle of your paternity means like you left 6 months ago. So I was going to say like that's not that shocking. But yeah, being told like a week into your paternity leave is sucky. Warner Brothers has not commented. Rocksteady staff who requested to remain anonymous told Eurogamer that the loss of so many roles in the developer's QA department, including team members with specialized knowledge, would leave their remaining colleagues shouldered with more work. There's also been an acknowledgement from Rocksteady senior management that product quality will now suffer as a result, staff said. Staff members affected by the job cuts include numerous junior staff, but also several team members employed at Rocksteady for more than 5 years. Last month, Warner Brothers reported a 41% fall in gaming revenue year on year due to the weak performance of Suicide Squad after previously saying it had lost $200 million on the game. Work continues on Suicide Squad's year of post-launch content, though nothing has been said for what, if anything, will come next. Rocksteady's talent is so evident in Rocksteady's latest game, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it almost overcomes the terrible decision to try and make it. Jesus. That's pretty hardcore. This comes on the back of other reporting by Jason Schreier, where he described the similar thing, loss of $200 million. But at the very, very end of his report, which again, this came out in like June. Yeah, June 6th. At the very, very end of it, you can see many of the studio's employees are now helping to develop a new director's cut version of Hogwarts Legacy. At the same time, according to people familiar, the studio leaders are looking to pitch a new single-player game which would return Rocksteady to its roots. And then I think they'll definitely get another at-bat, said TD Cohen analyst Doug Kreutz, hopefully with something more aligned with their demonstrated talents. I think seeing them lay off QA staff, that to me suggests that this probably is not going to be a studio doing their own stuff for a bit. My understanding is that right now they're being treated basically like a support studio. So they're being used as backup for other Warner Brothers studios, and they're helping with things like maybe animation quality on Hogwarts Legacy, director's cut, whatever. They might be improving facial animations. They might be working on graphical fidelity improvements, stuff like that. Because obviously Rocksteady knows what they're doing with the Unreal Engine, so it would just make sense that they would use that expertise to help the team over at Avalanche working on that. And if they're doing that, if they're being used as a support studio, in-house QA is just not that necessary. So to me, this would suggest that Rocksteady maybe will not be getting their own project for a bit. They might be treated just as a support studio for other studios within the Warner Brothers umbrella for a while, which I can't really say I blame them, Warner Brothers, that is, for approaching it that way. If I had a team or an employee or something that lost me $200 million, I would not be that confident in them if they came and said, well, let us try again. You know, like, I don't think they're crazy for feeling this way. I can't say I blame them, because at the very least it shows, I think they have talent. They have a lot of very talented people on the dev side of things. But I think when it comes to their decisions on what to make and why, that's where I'm a little more iffy. And so seeing them being treated more on the support side, I think that lines up with that. I think that lines up. But layoffs always suck. There's no doubt about it. As I mentioned, my dad was laid off recently, and he's still searching for a new job after a couple months. It's just something that happens in life, unfortunately, except sometimes the cookie just crumbles that way. In the case of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I don't think any of the people that worked in QA or any of the people that worked, even necessarily in the day-to-day operations of the game are to blame for it. I think all of the problems with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League are tied up in decisions made by the executives and by the directors and the producers, those big decision makers who chose to employ these people to work on the narrative and to work on the writing, and then that went and decided to pursue this live service offering instead of just what people wanted. All of those are decisions well above the pay grade of the people that are losing their jobs here, which is what really sucks about it, is that at the end of the day, the people that are losing their jobs are the ones that did what they were supposed to do and did, by all accounts, a pretty solid job of it. You know, nobody's claiming that Suicide Squad is ugly or poorly implemented in terms of like cutscenes or cinematics or any of that stuff. It's all the bigger decisions that are problematic. And especially reading the Jason Schreier report, it's very, very telling that this was mainly a game plagued by poor direction, which is why like they worked on it for so long and basically had very, very little to show for it. And it's because the directors kept basically restarting stuff and scrapping it because they were perfectionists and didn't like the way it was coming out. So they're like, oh, change that, change this, change that, change this, even though it was totally fine. And it just kept spinning and spinning and spinning until it got too late. And we got a game that was kind of garbage as a result. So it's just too bad. It's too bad because they're clearly talented. There's a lot of talented folks, just like there's talented folks working at Firewalk that put Concord together. Those games failed not because of those individual artists or developers. They failed because of the directors and because of the executives that greenlit those projects. There's a certain amount of responsibility that lands on the executives that greenlight failed projects. And I know it's easy to just want to throw it all at the developers' feet for making the game. But again, like, I don't think you can do that. I think you have to look at the executives that cut them a check for $200 million. You know, at some point, there has to be somebody ultimately responsible. And I think that person who's ultimately responsible is the one that gives the green light to a project that everybody could have seen from a mile away was not going to work. So, let's shift to this. It's nuts that the executives don't get hit at all by their decisions. I mean, you could argue they do, because it's like, oh, they don't get their bonuses, or oh, the average share price of the stock dropped by 5 or 10%, so they effectively got a pay cut. You could say that, but they're still worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. Zaslav, who's the head of Warner Brothers, this guy. Zaslav has an estimated net worth of like $400 million. So is he bummed that Suicide Squad didn't do well? Sure. Yeah. No, he's not thrilled about it. He would have liked to have it be successful. But he's going to be fine. You know, like if Suicide Squad loses $200 million for Warner Brothers, the stock price drops a little bit from $7 a share down to $6 a share, and maybe 100 million of his net worth is tied up in that stock. Yeah, it's frustrating. He's like, oh, I can't upgrade my jet this year. But for him, it doesn't matter. For these other people, the guy that's on paternity leave right now that just got laid off, he's probably having like a justifiable freak out, trying to figure out what the hell he's going to do to provide for his family. I know I would be. Like, and he did his job. He did the job as best as he possibly could have done. It's not his fault the game flopped. So I think it's pretty clear if an executive is consistently destroying everything he touches, I don't know why he should still be offered a job, why he should still be in position. Like, that's one thing that has just never made sense to me is why these executives can get away with it. Like, you know, Just don't get it. Okay. Anyway. New segment. There is yet another story breaking of Xbox struggling to keep developers happy to get stuff on their platform. Not because they're, but like even that description, I realize after I say it, is not really fair, because struggling implies that you're trying. This is a kind of breaking news report that reflects a problem that we've heard multiple times, which is that Xbox seemingly just isn't trying that hard. And a lot of stuff is falling through the cracks. So look at this. Look at this. Inotria, the last song. I'm not sure. I haven't heard of this game before. But they said, "We are thrilled to be a few weeks away from Inotria, the last song, launching digitally on PC and PlayStation 5 on September 19th. We're also very excited to have a physical PS5 edition coming a few months later. Inotria has been a passion project of ours for years, and we cannot wait to see you fight the authors to put a finite end to the twisted eternal play, Cannavaccio. But even in the beautifully detailed world of Inotria, there is bound to be some darkness. Unfortunately, at this time, we have to announce the indefinite delay of the Xbox version of the game. We understand how disappointing this news is to the Xbox community. Unfortunately, despite our best efforts and the hard work of our dedicated team, we've encountered challenges that have delayed the release on the Xbox platform. We want to emphasize that this is not a decision we've made lightly. We apologize for any disappointment this may have caused and sincerely thank you for your understanding and patience. As a self-published indie studio, your support means everything to us, and we are dedicated to bringing Inotria to as many players as possible." And they follow up with, "The only thing Sony did was work with us on getting the game ready on their platform. Microsoft, on the other hand, is taking 2 months to reply to our submission when we have the game practically ready for both Series S and X." And this is another instance of an indie studio reporting that Microsoft does not have the support systems in place to get indie projects put on their platform, or to help smaller studios that don't have direct contact with like head honchos over at Xbox. I forget the name of the other game, but there was another one where basically they had a technical issue where they couldn't get the developer portal to work properly, and they didn't have a way of contacting anybody to fix it. So they basically made a bunch of posts on X that went viral, and people, it kind of started spreading that way. And eventually Xbox reached out and I believe fixed the issue. But you shouldn't need to tweet on X or to tweet on Twitter or post on X, whatever, in order to have something go viral, to farm a bunch of outrage, to then get Xbox to pay attention to you. That just shouldn't happen. Like, they should just already have those systems in place. So I think, again, it's just clear that there's a structural issue within Xbox that they have to address, where at this point there's 2 instances that have been made public of developers that are frustrated with Xbox's, not just like like PlayStation is actively helping studios polish their stuff, right? PlayStation is actively working to improve it and to get the games on their platforms in the best state that they possibly can be, so that people play on PlayStation and feel like this is the best place to play this game. Whereas Xbox is like, okay, yeah, no, I guess you can put it out on our platform, whatever. Cool. And then they don't check their inbox for 2 months. And it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing? It should not even be a concern. It shouldn't even come to the equation. And maybe it's part of a broader approach from Xbox, which is, hey, if it's not on Game Pass, we don't really care. Maybe their numbers and stats are so poor outside of Game Pass on Xbox that it's just honestly not worth the trouble, which is another potential side of it. Because I know I can't even think of the last time I bought a game on PlayStation or on Xbox other than Suicide Squad, because I needed to try to get access to it when New Zealand unlocked so that I could get the video out faster. Other than that, I could not tell you the last time I bought a game on Xbox, because there just isn't a reason to buy it. So maybe the numbers are just so low that they're like, yeah, we can't even bother staffing more than 3 people globally to help people with this stuff. But it still seems insane that Microsoft owns this platform and they can't get the support there. It's just asinine. But unfortunately, it's not that surprising anymore. It's a story that we've heard plenty of times before. So can't say I'm shocked. You want to, but let me pivot this way. You want to hear something that I am shocked about? News segment. There is yet another story breaking of layoffs hitting a studio that has not even released their game yet. So last week, I think on Friday, we talked about a breaking news story where a studio, the studio behind the what is it? Something Mana. Hold on. Was it Trials of Mana? Is that right? Visions of Mana. So much mana. Visions of Mana. Yeah. Yeah, look at this. So we covered this, where Visions of Mana dev Oka Studio, maybe, I don't know how to pronounce it, reportedly facing layoffs, full closure even. And that was the day after the game launched. To really good reviews, but like the day after it launched, they were just like, oh, nope. We're good. We're good. And they just decided to shut them down and start laying people off and move on, which is crazy. It's crazy. I also think they did face full closure. It started initially, people thought it was just layoffs, but it turned into full closure. So there's that story. And then there's this story that just broke today. And this is a team that's working on something I'm kind of interested in. Ballistic Moon. The studio behind the Until Dawn remake that's coming in October is already facing layoffs ahead of the launch of the game. They have laid off an undisclosed number of developers before the game's launch on October 4th. The developers are yet to make an official statement on the layoffs, but several developers on LinkedIn have reported on the layoffs. Stuart Campbell, a game programmer at Ballistic Moon, said, "Hi everyone, unfortunately my current role at Ballistic Moon is being made redundant. So I'm looking for new opportunities. If you have any roles you think I might be suited for, please get in touch." Cassie Cornish, a junior game designer at the studio, said, "Like many others in this wonderful but turbulent industry, I am sadly being made redundant from my role as a junior game designer at Ballistic Moon. The team have been wonderful, and I'm so excited for our game to release in October." Harry Williams, technical designer, said, "After 2 exciting years working on the wonderful Until Dawn 2024 at Ballistic Moon, I am unfortunately being made redundant as a technical designer. I've loved working with everyone at BM, and hope I cross paths with members of that family in future projects." At the time of writing, 5 devs at the studio have reported that they have been laid off at Ballistic Moon on LinkedIn. Still, it's currently unclear how many employees were affected. They reached out to the devs for comment. And it's yet another instance of layoffs within the games industry. It's currently unclear if the round of layoffs will affect Until Dawn Remake or any other Until Dawn projects, including the film adaptation from PlayStation Productions and Sony Screen Games, or GEMS, which is believed to be in early production. I mean, it's wild that they're already laying people off and it hasn't even launched yet. But I think it's a reflection of a broader approach within a lot of corporations right now, which is, hey, our expenses are too high. Spending is down. So to keep the equation in balance, you got to cut staff. And even if your game hasn't launched yet, that's what we got to do. And it's stupid. It shouldn't work that way. You should at least get your game put out. And if it does well, you'd think you'd be rewarded, but that's not a given anymore. And I think that it's something that I fear is going to affect the industry long term, where passion, like games are an art form, and it is a business, certainly. But there's passion and care that goes into these things. People pour their hearts and souls into them. And when you create an environment where people cannot do their best work, where people feel as though doing their best work could lead to them just getting punished by layoffs anyways, I just think it's very hard to have a studio doing their best work and pouring their heart and soul into stuff. You're going to end up with more games that are just put together by people who are doing their best but are just broken and crestfallen, you know? And I just don't think you can have a really healthy development environment working on these projects when everybody is just mortified that at any moment they could lose their job. You know, it's just really, really frustrating. But it's also a reaction that I think is being made by these businesses that is born out of a reasonable evaluation. Like, most of these studios are way too big and are pumping out projects that were never going to return on the investment where they needed to. And as a result, like, the games are going to lose money, you know? And that's, I would argue, because of the executives. I think it's a problem with a lot of short-sighted executives where they have this approach where they think that everything is going to stay fairly consistent, especially in the gaming space, where if the games industry is growing at a certain rate, so this is like time, and then this is like dollars spend, yay. Okay. Back in like 2000, back here, maybe dollar spend was really low. And over time, it started to tick up and spending is going up and up and up and up. And a lot of these executives, you know, along the time, right here, they might greenlight a project that's going to cost $100 million, but they are like, okay, well, it's going to launch all the way out over here. And so by the time it launches, we should be able to cover the cost given that spending will be more. So if we initially back launching it here in like 2005, we could expect to maybe make $60-70 million on it. By the time we hit launch, we think that spending will be higher and people will be buying it more. And so we could expect to maybe make $120 million on it. So we can greenlight a project that's bigger with a bigger budget. And this is generally how a lot of this stuff works, because you're not budgeting based on what you think the game will perform at now. You're budgeting it based off what you think it'll perform when it eventually launches 4, 5, 6, 7 years in the future, which is why you get these projects that are greenlit with massive, massive budgets. But the problem is a lot of these executives just looked at this green line and didn't like run a lot of the numbers on precisely why that was growing, because of a fundamental misunderstanding of what's happening. And this is something that I've seen in the interviews with a lot of these executives when they go on MSNBC and talk about it, when they go on Bloomberg and talk about it. You can watch these interviews for yourself. And the fundamental misunderstanding that a lot of these game company CEOs and executives have made is as follows. They think that live service spend, microtransaction spend, mobile game spend, all of that is basically hand in hand with more traditional spending, like console gamer spending or PC gamer spending, which is just not the case. PC gamers, for example, are way, way, way less likely to spend $5 a day for the latest pack to open up a bunch of cards for this mobile game they're playing or this Steam game they're playing. They're very, very unlikely to do it. Some people do, sure, but it's way less likely than somebody that plays Monopoly Go on mobile, right? So mobile game spending may be skyrocketing, but that doesn't mean that console gamers will be doing the same thing. And what's happened is people like Jim Ryan, they looked at these charts and they're like, oh, spending's going up and up and up. Let's greenlight a project like Concord. Let's greenlight a project like Suicide Squad. Let's do that and build it around this microtransaction system and this live service system. And when it launches over here, yes, we might initially think, oh, performance will be here. Okay. But we're going to make up all the difference with that extra microtransaction spend. That's what we're going to do. But what they just fundamentally misunderstood is that the console gamers, the PC gamers that are interested in these games aren't going to just go along with the live service transition because they're fundamentally different games. And more than anything, console gamers and PC gamers, microtransactions and live service offerings have a stink to them. You know, for a lot of gamers, the words live service is anathema. It's toxic. It's something they don't want to mess with. It turns them off. And you saw that in real time with the announcement of Concord, where they show off this cinematic trailer that's very Guardians of the Galaxy. It's kind of interesting, and people were like, okay, I'm paying attention. Okay. And then they get the game's directors up on screen and they say, Concord is a 5v5 hero shooter set in and immediately people are turning it off. It's like, okay, so it's a 5v5 hero shooter. It's a live service. I'm out. I'm good. It's actively turning them off now because people and gamers in general, like, they're able to see that from a mile away. And when a game has been built to milk them dry of all of their cash, shocker, they don't like it. The game could actually be really good, but the perception is this game has been built from the ground up just to milk me for everything I'm worth. And I don't want to be milked for everything I'm worth. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need it. So I'm not going to buy your game. I'm not going to play with it. I'm not going to mess with it. And it's the huge miscalculation where these studios and executives thought, if we build live service games and games built around just driving tons and tons of microtransactions, we will see those PC gamers start to spend on a similar level as everybody else. So we'll make that money. But it did the opposite. PC gamers heard about this and it actively turned them off. And so those gamers were willing to spend even less and less. And that's what we've seen with Concord, is that gamers are way less likely to spend money on live service games. And so you end up with them only selling 25,000 copies. Even though they thought they'd be up here. They thought gamers were going to eat it up. But the sentiment has changed. I don't think it's really changed. I think this was always where it was going to go. Even back in like 2017, shortly after a project like Concord was initially starting to be worked on, there was the debacle with like Battlefront 2 with the loot box scandal, where Disney had to step in and basically tell them, stop it, get your act together. Like, what are you doing? And other games like Shadow of War also went and basically imploded because of the end game with all the crazy loot boxes and stuff. So I don't think this was really a mystery. I think that they just had $ glasses on and they sort of self-deceived themselves, which I guess is redundant. They deceived themselves and tricked themselves into thinking that this type of thing was going to happen. But it's going to take a while because there's at least a half dozen other huge live service games. I think it's up to a dozen actually, live service games that are in the works over at PlayStation that they're actively working on. Those are going to probably see the light of day. I think we will see Fair Games launch. And when that happens, I think it's going to, of course, be met with a similar response. And it's going to be another instance of a game launching, losing tons of money. And it's just going to be, the live service trend. And you might occasionally get one that pops off like a Helldivers, but then it's going to just drop right back down. Because PlayStation gamers are like PC gamers in large part. They just don't want to mess with that stuff. They're good. They just don't want to deal with it. So they just don't. And we saw that with Concord. They just didn't buy it. They're like, I'm good. And then Sony's going to be really baffled. And they're going to be like, I don't understand. We spent so much money on this. Why don't you like it? Why don't you like it? I think you'd like it. So it's going to get worse before it gets better. A lot of people who think like, okay, after Concord, that's going to be the pivot point. They're going to move forward. They're not going to do this anymore. Nope. They've got a lot more projects in the works. They're going to get all of them flushed out. Some will just be canceled, I'm sure. Some that you've never heard of will never see the light of day. Others are going to flush out. And some have been canceled already. I think initially it was, I think you're right, Orem. I think initially it was 12 were in the works, and then they canceled a handful, including like the Last of Us Online project and a few others we never heard of. And so they still have a handful that are going to either be canceled or they're going to release and just shove out the door. But time will tell how those turn out. MJR Payne 97, thank you for the super chat. Do you think that the only way for things to get better, more meaningful better. More meaningful consequences have to happen to executives and managerial roles in corporate America. If so, how? I think the problem is that the only way that you see a change to corporate structures happen is if the people that are in charge make that decision. And guess who makes that decision? The managers in those corporate positions of power. And they're not going to make a decision that hurts themselves. So the only other way you see it is if like executives or rather investors step up and demand like full house clearings of dysfunctional companies, but that's pretty rare. What's more common is for them to be like bought out. So like if Warner Brothers Discovery was bought out by a separate conglomerate, like I don't even know who, but if they were bought out by somebody and then that company came in and basically cleared house of all of their management, and presuming the company that bought them out was more capable than Warner Brothers, then maybe you could see it improve. But I don't really see a mechanism for it to be fixed, because the only ones that could fix it would be the ones that need to be fixed. And I don't think, honestly, they probably don't see anything wrong with what's going on right now. They probably see everything is working totally fine. Yeah, we wish we'd have more successful projects, but hey, in the case of Zaslav, I'm still worth $400 million. So, oh well. Oh well. I won't be able to buy that yacht this year. Next year I will, but this year I guess I won't. But the other thing about executives, and this is perhaps the saving grace to this, which is why it's not like just a total bummer. The one thing about executives in these big corporations is that they only really care about money at the end of the day. And if projects that are super dysfunctional and toxic and stupid are dying and losing lots of money, they will stop making them because they will lose lots of money. It will take time because they release one that fails and then they greenlight a different one that they quote unquote learned from. That'll take 5-6 years before you see it. But when you do see it, it's going to be a lot better. And so at the end of the day, you have the ultimate ability to actually make the change, which is just simply to vote with your wallet. You just don't buy it. I know it's easy to like hate play these games. I get it. But just don't. Just don't. I make videos on these sort of as like a public service thing because I can show people you're not missing out on anything. Do as I say, not as I do. I bought the game so I can make the video on it. And you don't need to buy it. And I think a lot of people get that. I mean, obviously, like I bought Suicide Squad, I bought Concord to play them for those videos. And that didn't somehow save the game, like still able to disclose and show everybody what it's actually like. But I know a lot of people like will try hate playing a game or just out of morbid curiosity. Like a lot of people, for example, bought Gollum, because they were just so curious. Could it be that bad? But then there's other games like Concord where people don't like it and aren't interested, and they're just genuinely not interested. At least with Gollum, it was bad, but people were interested. People are like a morbid curiosity. But with something like Concord, they just legitimately don't give a crap. They just genuinely don't understand, don't care. But you can deduct it from tax. Well, it's a business expense. If it's used in the operation of the business, I could use it as a business expense. That doesn't make it free. It just discounts it at my corporate tax rate or whatever. So it's not like a magic thing where all of a sudden the game is free. It's just like, oh, if it costs $60 and my corporate tax rate is like 20, okay, it cost me effectively like whatever that would be, 47, 48, 50, I don't know. Van Leah, thank you for the super chat. Did you hear about the Venezuelan gangs in the Colorado apartment? Yeah, I know those apartment buildings. We sold a couple of them. So I've been in a lot of those apartment buildings in Aurora because we sold a lot of buildings when I worked in corporate real estate. in Aurora, and I will say I don't know exactly what's going on with it. I know the guy that owns those buildings has had multiple of his buildings condemned as unlivable, which is in no way surprising to me. Like, I remember at one point walking down the hallway in one of his buildings that looked like an actual prison. And I kid you not, like, you are walking down the hallway and it's just hallway, okay. And then you have doors, you know, the doorways for the apartments. And all along the sides of the hallway is this like bizarre white powder all over the place with like little black specks in it. I was like, what on earth is going on? We're just walking down the hallway. You know, we're not doing anything. We're walking to go into like one of the units to tour it for a buyer or something that was there. And then we stop and we look and we ask the handyman that had the keys letting us in. We're like, what is all this powder stuff on the sides of the walls? He's like, oh, that's all roach poison. Oh, it was like, yeah, I think it was borax powder is what it was, but it's just like white powder sprinkled all over the floors, and all the little black specks in it were dead roaches. Like, you could reach down and scoop your hand through it and come up with easily 10 to 15 roaches in just one hand scoop. Like, he was a slumlord of all slumlords. I felt really bad for the people that lived there. But the way he would rent it, because obviously most people didn't want to live in those apartments. Most of the people that lived in those apartments were like convicted sex offenders that couldn't get apartments anywhere else, or you know, felons, or people that basically could not get approved for another apartment complex are the ones that he rented to. So it was a slum. It was disgusting and gross and horrifying, and honestly probably not legally livable by Colorado regulations. But that's how he made his money. It was an absolute dumpster, but he would rent them out to people who didn't have another choice. And of course, I've been out of the game now for what, like 3-4 years. So I don't know if he sold these buildings to new owners or if it's a new management or something. I don't know what this current situation is. He might not own these anymore. What I do know is he wasn't able to sell them because nobody wanted to buy them and deal with all this. People found out that this is what they were like and didn't want anything to do with the building. Because if that's how bad the visible stuff was, imagine how bad the other stuff was that you couldn't see. Imagine how bad the plumbing was or whatever else. Because clearly he wasn't doing maintenance. So I don't know what it's like now, but I did see the videos and pictures of the buildings that they said were overrun by gangs and stuff. And I recognize those buildings. I've been in a lot of those buildings, and we tried to sell them to people when I worked in real estate, and we weren't able to do it because they were so bad. So I can't say I'm surprised to hear that there's potentially a lot of illegal activity going on there. If anything, I'm surprised that anybody gives a crap or is noticing, because it's been like that for years. It's been really, really horrifying. There were tours of those types of apartment buildings where we had to have police sergeants escort us through the building because they were that sketchy. Like, you would just walk through and you didn't know if you were going to get jumped. Like, at one point, my boss, he had a very nice Rolex. Really nice Rolex. And he like parked us like a block away, and he takes his Rolex off, and he took it off before we went. He like left it on his desk in the office, and I was like, oh, it was just getting heavy today. It's such a heavy watch, so nice. He's like, no, I just don't like to bring it to these places. But it's because if he was wearing a Rolex and he's walking around around that type of place, odds are pretty high he could get jumped. You know, you just don't mess with it. So yeah, anyway, of that stuff, long story short, did I hear about the Colorado apartment gang thing? Yes, I know those buildings and I know how horrifyingly bad they are. I don't know if it's just the one building I saw on the news. I don't know if it's others. I don't know if it's a new owner. I don't know if it's a new manager. All I know is that those buildings have been real bad for a long time. And so none of it is surprising to me. Joaquin, thank you for the 19 months. Appreciate you, my friend. Thank you. Holla, holla. You sold those buildings, didn't you? I wish, dude, the commission on those buildings would have been a lot. That building is, I think at the time was like maybe 3 million or something. If it was in good condition. I mean, honestly, the condition it was, it's probably more like 1.8, 2.2, something like that. And it would, no bank would have given a loan. So it would have had to be like an all cash buyer or something. But, I mean, that commission would have been like, what would that be? Maybe like 250 grand. Now, granted, that's split up amongst, like, if I were to sell that building, all my bosses would take their cut before I would get my cut, because brokerages are basically a pyramid scheme. And so my take home would have been maybe 20 to 30,000, which is still very, very nice, but certainly not as nice as 300,000. You know, but that's how brokerage works. You know, everybody above you gets a cut of the pie before you get your bite. So anyway, Blake, thank you for the 5. Did you see that Concord is the first game ever to not have a single thing in Rule 34? LMAO, weirdest headline I've ever seen. I did see that too, Blake, where people like, it actually broke the internet. Like, the character designs are so uninteresting that they haven't even made like weird porn of it. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Have I played the COD Black Ops 6 beta? I have not yet. I have not. I need an actual extended critique of how MS Paint is tremendous. We could work on that. We could work on that. Yeah. Oh, man. What will wake up Xbox, Luke? I think that Hidden Creed assumes something that you shouldn't assume. And that is that there is something fundamentally, or that there is something Xbox is doing that Xbox is not aware of, or that Xbox needs to, or feels that they need to correct. I feel like there's plenty of stuff Xbox is doing wrong, but it's pretty clear at this point, Xbox is just making a major shift and pivot. They're going basically the route of treating everything as a big publisher, and they want to just release games and distribute them just like they do with Windows and Microsoft Office and all of that stuff. So they're going to stop approaching it the way that PlayStation approaches their business. And, you know, the Xbox hardware will still probably be there for a long time, but I don't think that's going to be a priority for them at all. I think we're probably going to see even more stories of them like laying off people within the marketing department and all that. It's just going to be that they make games and they put them out, and that's that. Really, really simple. Fearless Well, thank you for the 2. I think we'll end on this one. Getting a new monitor. What do you have or recommend? All of my stuff is LG. I have the LG 48-inch OLED here, and then I have the 45-inch LG OLED ultra wide here. That's awesome. I love them. I love the OLEDs. They don't really have burn-in problems like you might think, but I love them. I love them. So those are the ones I use. I've used other monitors in the past, like BenQ. Any solid monitor like that, you can't really go wrong with. But yeah, those are at least the ones I use are LG. RXZ, thank you for 13 months. Ooh, baby, that's phenomenal. Thank you, my friend. Let's see. Embaz, hi there. Came here from YouTube, like your videos and find them informative. Thank you for your work. Thank you, my friend, for watching. Appreciate you. And Joker Dace, Joker Das, I'm not sure. Joker Da Ace, maybe? I think that sounds more right. Joker Da Ace, thank you for gifting a sub over on Twitch. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, my 55-inch LG C1 is still going strong, and I've got a great price for it. Yeah, those C1s are beautiful. Those are great. Yeah. With all this, I think it's just, there's a lot of solid options. Again, I've loved my BenQ monitors. I love my LG monitors. They're all great. Any like Samsung, BenQ, LG, they're all fantastic. You can't really go that wrong. There's little bitty differences, like if you like to plug your headphones directly into the monitor, maybe that makes a difference because some of them have better sound processing stuff in it. Sometimes it's little stuff like you're in a really bright room. If you're in a really bright room and you have a lot of like windows and natural light, like honestly, Samsung panels are really bright. Those are a good way to go. If you're in a darker room and you appreciate fidelity more than anything, LG OLED monitors are great. Stuff like that. Samsung Odyssey G8 OLED. Oh, baby, yeah. That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. You playing Space Marine 2 on Thursday? Thursday the 5th. Doesn't it launch the 9th? Do you mean Monday? Not sure. Anyway, there's a lot. Basically, I guess to wrap this up, I am traveling, okay? Not tomorrow, but the day after, Wednesday. I have a flight. My flight is during our normal stream time. So what I think I will do is Wednesday, I will basically stream when I get a chance, probably when I get to the hotel wherever I am going. Ooh, so mysterious. It's going to be fun. From there, I have a thing I'm doing Thursday, pretty much all day. And then Friday, I'm headed back home. Friday, I probably get back. And then in the afternoon, I can stream. But I'm flying and traveling through the morning. So it's going to be kind of a weird day or a weird week in terms of streaming. But I'm going to try to do it whenever I can. And we're going to try to get segments and stuff out just like normal. But just so you know, that's where we're at. Disney bought Luke again. No, not Disney. Not Disney. No. That's probably the most funny, stupid, easily dismissible thing is when people were on the Star Wars video and you could tell they didn't watch it because they're like, oh, did they take you out to a boat trip this time, Luke? And I was like, I literally didn't go on the trip, guys. There was a trip that creators went on. Yes. I did not go on the trip. I saw the tweets just like everybody else of everybody being like, ooh, I got to go to Disneyland, whatever. I did not go to Disneyland. I'm sorry. I hate to disappoint you. But just didn't get to. Bummer. I will say for this trip, we'll talk about what it's for, of course, eventually once I'm allowed to, but no, it's not Assassin's Creed stuff. But when the time comes, I can talk about it. But I did specifically ask if this was the only opportunity to do this thing. And they said, yep, there won't be remote options. So it's kind of the only option we had. Anyway. Oh, you hear about the Chase money glitch? Yeah, dude, that's so freaking stupid and thoroughly hilarious. If you haven't seen it, I think I have it bookmarked. Yeah. People thought that you could go to Chase. It's a TikTok trend where you exploit a bug where a user could deposit a large check and have funds available for withdrawal immediately. And so people were going and writing a bad check, a fake check, depositing it into their checking account, and then immediately withdrawing the cash. And they thought that they just had infinite money. Guess what happened the next day? They're hit with a minus $30,000 charge on their checking account. Oops. People honestly thought that there was an infinite money glitch where you could just go up there, write these checks, and somehow just have infinite money. Yeah, this is a screenshot from a follow-up. From a follow-up TikTok. What I don't understand is if you wrote a bad check for $31,000 and took out a $31,000 like bundle of cash, why couldn't you just redeposit the money if it happened yesterday? And I think we all know why. Because they spent all of the money, or at least a lot of it, in that one evening. That one evening. Because I'm like, I don't even know how I'd spend $31,000 in a single night. I don't know how I would even do that. Did they just go buy a car for cash? Is that what they did? Like, I don't even know how you spend $30,000 in an evening. I don't even know. Unless it's like that Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad thing where he goes to the strip club and just lives it up. Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe he goes and go into a casino or something. I don't know. Drugs, maybe. But I do not feel bad for people that did this. They saw a TikTok and decided to commit bank fraud for it, which is pretty freaking hilarious. Man, so freaking stupid. So stupid. Anyway, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is indeed. Okay. Much love, everybody. Much love. I will be back some point on Wednesday, I'm sure. And I look forward to that because it's going to be a good time. And we'll be streaming from somewhere mysterious. Won't that be fun? So we'll do that. Until next time, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for all of the memberships, super chats, and subs. You guys are fantastic. It's been great hanging out with you guys. And we'll be back. Rocking and roller, okay? I can't talk. Rocking and rolling, okay? There we go. Much love, everyone. I will see you very, very soon in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.